Using 10,000 people to buy time? How extravagant. Even if you have more people, it'd be useless. At this moment, Ling Chen suddenly saw dust flying in the distance, and the sound of hooves beating the ground gradually filled the air. Hearing this sound, Yunfeng and Xiao Qiufeng's faces changed. Yunfeng quickly turned on his communication device, and yelled to Ling Chen, "Ling Tian, be careful. It's the Yan Huang Alliance's armored cavalry." Armored cavalry? Ling Chen frowned. The players around him simultaneously received some sort of signal or message, and all quickly retreated. Ling Chen didn't chase after them, but stood his ground. He wanted to see just how strong this armored cavalry was. Ling Tian immediately tried to rush into the army of Yan Huang Alliance players. Otherwise, if you're surrounded by the armored cavalry, you'll definitely be killed. The Yan Huang Alliance's armored cavalry are always the vanguards in any large-scale conflict, and can easily destroy an enemy force of the same number of people. This time, there are at least 2,000 of them. To be able to gather 2,000 armored cavalry troops in such a short period of time, no less than expected from the Yan Huang Alliance. It was evident how much Long Tian Yun wanted to kill Ling Tian. Under the fierce attacks from the armored cavalry, even a large force could be destroyed, much less a single person. However, even after hearing Yunfeng's warning, Ling Chen did not move. Soon, a large troop of people wearing full-body armor, carrying shields and riding black horses appeared, surrounding Ling Chen. Their mounts were all the highest quality and most luxurious mounts from the mount shop. Cloud-stepping Mares. Seeing himself surrounded, Ling Chen began to feel a bit of pressure from this armored cavalry. His expression became serious. It's the Yan Huang Alliance's armored cavalry. Using so many armored cavalry players just to get rid of Ling Tian, is the Yan Huang Alliance crazy? Of course they're not crazy. Before Ling Tian appeared, Long Tian Yun had never failed at anything before. Ling Tian is the bane of his existence, so such action is justified by his immense hatred. It's over. Even if Ling Chen's a god, he can do nothing against 2,000 armored cavalry. Crap. It's the Yan Huang Alliance's armored cavalry. Big brother Ling Tian, Shaoqi and Su'er both covered their mouths. What do we do? What do we do? Big brother, go and help big brother Ling Tian. With so many armored cavalry, it's way too dangerous for big brother Ling Tian. Shaoqi rushed over to Xiao Qiufeng as she shouted. Xiao Qiufeng looked at the 2,000 armored cavalry and shook his head. The Yan Huang Alliance's armored cavalry is equipped with the best armor, shields and mounts. With the people I have here, I won't be able to do anything. Moreover, I have no reason to help Ling Tian after all. The consequences would be incredibly severe for me. But, Shaoqi knew what Xiao Qiufeng said was right. However, apart from begging Xiao Qiufeng, she didn't have any other ideas. At this moment, the command to attack was finally issued. Attack! Charge! Under the order, the thousands of horses charged simultaneously. The thundering of hooves on the ground was deafening, and caused tremors throughout the ground. 2,000 armored cavalry charged at Ling Chen from all directions. Cloud-stepping Mares were incredibly fast, and anyone seeing so many horses thundering towards them with the riders also clamoring would find it difficult not to be scared. In the center, Ling Chen tightly gripped his weapons. It seemed that this armored cavalry was of pretty decent caliber. Heavy armor and heavy shields, combined with such momentum, even if it was him, being hit by any of these would result in him being smashed into the air. Once he fell down, countless attacks would be waiting for him. He definitely couldn't afford being trapped. Ling Chen deeply breathed in, then sprinted forwards. He himself was already quite fast, and with the armored cavalry charging at him, the distance between them rapidly closed. Ling Chen swept out with his left hand, shooting out a Ling Tian burst, sending all of the armored cavalry players close to him flying. However, even though the horses lost their riders, they continued to charge towards Ling Chen. Ling Chen attacked with his right hand, instantly killing the riderless mounts. However, after launching these two attacks, the armored cavalry behind sped forwards like lightning, maintaining the pressure on Ling Chen. Against these armored cavalry troops, Ling Chen evidently couldn't use the methods that he had used against the melee professions. With their speed and momentum, launching two Ling Qian bursts simply wouldn't be enough. Heavy shield rush. While charging at him, the armored cavalry nearby all raised their heavy shields. In an instant, more than 10 heavy shields bashed towards Ling Chen from all directions. Ling Chen's eyes narrowed, and he spun, sending out two Ling Qian bursts. The riders were knocked off, but again, the cloud-stepping Mares were fine as they couldn't be damaged while mounted. As such, they were able to continue to charge. Ling Chen jumped up, and pushed off the back of a riderless horse, jumping far away. With the Fengchen technique, his air time was significantly increased, and was able to glide more than 3 meters in the air. As soon as he touched down on the ground again, he once again sent two Ling Qian bursts towards the armored cavalry. 8 armored cavalry players were swept off their mounts, and those behind them yelled, continuing their charge. With their speed, they would be able to attack him before he could attack again. Ling Chen didn't waste any time. He once again pushed off a cloud-stepping mare's body, jumped 3 meters away, and attacked. The decreased falling speed from the Fengchen technique helped him greatly after all. Although the speed and momentum of the armored cavalry was terrifying, they couldn't charge into the air. Jumping off a horse, attacking, jumping off a horse, attacking. After repeating this 7 or 8 times, Ling Chen still hadn't received any damage at all. However, it wasn't just Ling Chen who could jump. After repeating this more than 8 times, the armored cavalry had already lost 50 members, but Ling Chen was completely fine, causing the remaining armored cavalry to shout even louder in fury. When Ling Chen jumped off a horse for the 9th time, 4 armored cavalry members unexpectedly also jumped off their mounts, swinging their shields at him. "I'll be damned." Ling Chen stared as the 4 shields smashed onto his chest. Bang! -55, -51, -52, miss. Shield bearers didn't have much damage to begin with, and with Ling Chen's absurdly high defense, their attacks barely dealt any damage. However, what was the most problematic for Ling Chen was that he lost his balance, and was sent flying. Just as he was about to reach the ground, more shields came swinging at him. Ling Chen was unable to do anything while falling, so he gritted his teeth and yelled in a low voice, "Ling, hurry and come help." Just as Ling Chen yelled out, a black light appeared, and a small figure that only Ling Chen could see appeared. At the same time, countless black chains appeared and bound themselves on all players within 15 meters of him. "Ding, you have been restricted by the underworld lock, you cannot use any active skills for 15 seconds. All of the players who were bound by the black chains received the same announcement. The shields that they were swinging suddenly stopped, unable to attack. Bang! Ling Chen fell heavily onto the ground. He rolled, and attacked immediately afterwards. 4 corners star formation. All of the players within a 10-meter radius around Ling Chen were sent flying. Ling Chen finally took a long breath, and steadied himself again. The Yan-Huang Alliance's armored cavalry was indeed quite impressive, no wonder Yun Feng had shouted all those things so worriedly. After being rushed by such an army, any well-coordinated army would easily fall into disarray. It was going to be a bit too hard for him to deal with all of them by himself. At this moment, Ling Chen suddenly thought of Ling. If only Ling was here, she would be able to decimate all of the armored cavalry with a single burning fire array. After only having a few moments of breathing space, the armored cavalry once again began to charge at him. Ling Chen looked around him and muttered to himself, "All right, you've forced me to do this." Leng'er. Leng'er's favorability towards Ling Chen was now 19, so she was willing to help him fight against his enemies. Hearing Ling Chen's call, she obediently nodded, and reached out in front of her. Numerous chains once again appeared and wrapped themselves around all players within 20 meters of him. Ding, your pet Ling has used Sin Lock on 57 targets around you. For 5 seconds, these 57 targets will go into a berserk state, and will attack their nearest target ferociously. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Guerrero Rose 42516, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta. As soon as Sin Lock was activated, the eyes of the players within 20 meters of Ling Chen went completely red, and they howled like wild animals. They stopped charging forwards, but instead raised their shields and other weapons and began to attack the person nearest to them. All of a sudden, those at the front seemed to forget that Ling Chen even existed, and savagely attacked their comrades like demons. One by one, the armored cavalry members began to die at the comrades' hands. The chaos resulting from this began to spread throughout the entire army. The effects of Sin Lock lasted for a very short time, but its effects were devastating. Ling Chen coldly laughed, and dived into the chaotic army. He rapidly swung his weapons, killing large numbers of enemies with each swing. 5 seconds quickly passed, but the chaos continued. By this point it was impossible for the armored cavalry to get back into formation, and they could only helplessly struggle as Ling Chen killed them off. Crash! Long Tian Yun smashed a crystal cup onto the floor as his face darkened and he snarled, "What just happened?" Seeing the armored cavalry fall into chaos, Flame Shadow was also extremely shocked, but he had no idea what had just happened. He lowered his head. "Rest assured, young master, in order to kill Ling Tian, I've made meticulous plans. Even if the armored cavalry fail, we still have the Heaven's Net Corps. 3,000 Heaven's Net members have already moved past the central district of the Plains region, and will be there within 1 minute. In order to deal with Ling Tian, we've even mobilized the Heaven's Net Corps." Long Tian Yun gnashed his teeth. "Today, Ling Tian must be killed until he's LV0 again, so that he can never recover. Understood?" "Yes." Flame Shadow vigorously nodded. "No matter who it is, anyone who dares to go against our Yan Huang alliance will regret it for their whole lives." By the time the armored cavalry had finally managed to get back into formation, they had almost been decimated by Ling Chen single-handedly. "My God, this is way too ridiculous. That's the Yan Huang alliance's armored cavalry, for goodness sake." Even Yun Feng, who knew how powerful Ling Chen was, could only stare in shock as he gulped. Xiao Qiufeng also looked dumbfounded as he frowned in disbelief. Big brother Ling Tian is so strong. Xiao Qi, who had persistently asked her big brother to help Ling Chen, covered her mouth with her hands. She was so in awe that her tears almost started to come out. Apart from Ling Chen, no one else knew what had just happened. After all, only he could see Ling Er. The chaos that had just erupted definitely didn't happen for no reason. This mysterious incident once again decreased the armored cavalry's morale. The armored cavalry's leader was letting out cold sweat. If that happened one more time, all of the players here could be decimated. As such, the armored cavalry warily surrounded Ling Chen once again, but left a large distance between them this time. After hesitating for a while, the leader gritted his teeth and hollered, "Charge!" Immediately, the armored cavalry army once again thundered towards Ling Chen. Ling Er, Darkness Lock. The Sin Lock had a cooldown time of 60 seconds, so Ling Chen could only choose to use the Darkness Lock. The armored cavalry were bound by darkness chains that lowered their movement speed. The armored cavalry within 20 meters of Ling Chen suddenly slowed down, and no longer posed a threat to Ling Chen. This way, Ling Chen was able to use his Ling Qian bursts without being overcome with the armored cavalry charging behind the ones he just killed. At this moment, the sound of marching could be heard coming from the distance. Hearing this sound, the entire armored cavalry army froze, and immediately retreated. Ling Chen, who was just about to attack, looked around in surprise. He looked in the direction that the armored cavalry had retreated to, and saw that another large wave of players who were wearing matching outfits were approaching. Crap! This time, Yun Feng and Xiao Qiu Feng were both completely shocked. Ling Tian, get out of there immediately. This is the Yan Huang Alliance's Heaven's Net core. Once you're caught by the Heaven's Net, even Eve would not be able to leave alive. Yun Feng's warning was much more serious than the one he had given about the armored cavalry. Immediately, Ling Chen was able to see what this Heaven's Net cores was. They were all wearing the same equipment and quickly surrounded him like the other groups had. When they were closer, he could clearly see that all of these people were archers. When they were within 50 meters of him, they slowed down, and took out their weapons, and fired. After changing profession for the first time, archers only had a maximum range of 30 meters. As such, where he stood, it would be impossible for them to hit him. The net of arrows rained down, leaving only an area of 20 meters around Ling Chen empty. After hitting the ground, the arrows soon disappeared. Ling Chen suddenly frowned. Just as he expected, these archers started to attack while advancing, slowly closing in the ring. The net of arrows drew closer and closer. The distance between Ling Chen and the arrows shrank from 20 meters to 15 meters, to 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters. Ling Chen's reaction speed and reflexes were unparalleled among all the players. This was evident from his battle with the Sword Emperor. However, with this net of arrows that was slowly closing in on him, no matter how good his reflexes were, it would be useless. Unless he could fly, no matter which direction he moved in, he would be hit by countless arrows. Even if he stood his ground, sooner or later the net would be completely closed up and he would be hit regardless. Evidently, Ling Chen was not able to fly. Once someone was caught by the Heaven's Net, it would be impossible for them to escape. Ling Chen stood completely still, observing his surroundings. Big brother! Big brother Ling Tian! The girls' shouts were filled with worry and anxiety. With so many arrows flying through the sky, they found it hard to believe Ling Chen could escape this time. Xiao Qiu Feng sighed, all that struggling was pointless. However, being able to force the Yan Huang Alliance to use the Heaven's Net core was already impressive. He shouldn't have come today. The Yan Huang Alliance's kill on-site orders aren't just a joke. The problem is, the revival point at Azure Dragon City definitely already has people lying in wait. After Ling Chen dies and revives there, as soon as he walks out, he'll be killed again. As for the punishment for attacking players within the city, the Yan Huang Alliance doesn't care about that. Yun Feng said as he gritted his teeth. Xiao Qiu Feng lapsed into silence, then expressionlessly said, "This is the consequence for offending the Yan Huang Alliance." The Heaven's Net core were coming closer and closer to Ling Chen, and the arrows now landed just a few steps away from Ling Chen. In just a few moments, the arrows would start to land on him as well. Nonetheless, Ling Chen continued to stand his ground, watching as the arrows came closer and closer. Finally, he let out a breath and slowly said, "Well, I think it's time I left now. Tell your alliance master Long Tianyun that I'll be returning the favor not too long in future." Ling Chen coldly smiled and raised his hand, and a green scroll appeared. It was the scroll he had obtained from the giant greedy frog, the Power Scroll, Avarice Sound Wave, TLN, Chapter 34. Looking at this scroll, Ling Chen felt a bit reluctant and pained to use it. However, it was his only choice. "Enjoy." Ling Chen laughed and shattered a scroll. Instantly, an incredibly sharp and unpleasant noise filled the air, causing countless players to cover their ears in pain. The Heaven's Net Corps surrounding Ling Chen all stopped advancing, and let out cries of confusion. Their entire bodies shook, and they began to wildly fire arrows at their comrades around them, causing their army to crumble. What's going on? Yun Feng and Xiao Qiu Feng looked around in bewilderment. Seeing the Heaven's Net Corps savagely killing each other, Ling Chen stretched out his right hand, and released a moon flare. Instantly, the blinding light caused countless players to once again cry out in pain and cover their eyes. Broken shadow. Ling Chen's body blurred, and disappeared. After 5 seconds, when the moon flare had disappeared, no one could even see a trace of Ling Chen or where he had gone. The Avarice sound waves effects lasted for 10 seconds, so the Heaven's Net Corps continued to attack each other in confusion. The Heaven's Net Corps that had once struck fear into every heart had become complete jokes. Finally the 10 seconds had passed and the effects of the confusion ended. The Heaven's Net Corps members all looked around groggily, and some collapsed onto the ground. Ling Qian was already nowhere to be seen. You trash! We had 3,000 people surrounding a single person, and yet he still got away. And now everyone's laughing at us. You useless idiots! The leader completely lost his temper as he yelled at his subordinates. Although he knew that the confusion was definitely due to the scroll that Ling Qian had used, but his Heaven's Net Corps not only wasn't able to kill Ling Qian, but even suffered such a huge humiliation. This was something he couldn't accept. Wait! The leader suddenly thought of something, and his face became serious again. Ling Qian has only disappeared for a few seconds, he can't have escaped from here. He must have changed his clothing and hid among all of you. Immediately check those around you. If you see any unfamiliar faces, immediately attack. 30 meters away from Ling Chen was the Heaven's Net Corps and about 60 meters away was the Armored Cavalry. Ling Chen had only disappeared for 5 seconds, so it was definitely impossible for him to have gotten out of the encirclement. Thus, it was only logical to believe that Ling Chen was hiding somewhere among the ranks of the Yan Huang Alliance players. Immediately, every Yan Huang Alliance player warily looked at those around them. There were so many players in the Yan Huang Alliance that it was impossible to be familiar with every single face. After all that chaos, the ranks had all been moved around, and looking around, there were unfamiliar faces everywhere. Long Tian Yun's face turned extremely ugly, and beside him, Flame Shadow was sweating bullets. Even after mobilizing the Armored Cavalry and Heaven's Net Corps, they were still unable to catch Ling Qian. This was simply ridiculous. Seeing Long Tian Yun's expression, Flame Shadow grabbed his communication device and ordered, "Idiots! Tell everyone to display their names." Neither the spectating players nor Yan Huang Alliance's players left, as they all believed that Ling Qian was still hiding somewhere. Soon, all of the Yan Huang Alliance players revealed their names, and were checked by various leaders. At this time, the girls of Heart's Dream all calmed down, their faces full of joy and relief. Xiao Qi ran over to Xiao Qiu Feng as she introduced everyone. "Hehe, big brother, this is Shui Rua, Ling Tian's little sister, who I've mentioned many times. This little sister is called Tian Tian. Her IGN is Tian 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 Tian, and is also Ling Tian's little sister." What? Tian 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 Tian? Could she be? Looking at the little girl whose face was covered by a mask, Xiao Qiufeng's face revealed an expression of complete shock. "Shoo." Xiao Qi put her finger to her lips as she said in a soft voice, "That's right, she's the Tian 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 at the top of the hidden profession rankings." Well? Our Heart's Dream is pretty good, right? Make sure you don't tell anyone about this. Alright, it's time for us to go. There are way too many Yan Huang Alliance players here. Go? Aren't you afraid that Ling Tian will be found? Xiao Qiufeng asked, still unable to believe that Tian 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 was this little girl in front of him. The entire Chinese player base were focused on this top-ranked hidden profession, and no one would ever guess that it belonged to such a little girl. Let them waste their time. Big brother Ling Tian's long gone. He's probably in a place far, far away by now. Even if they search the entire plains region, they won't be able to find him. We're going now. Bye, big brother, sister-in-law. The sister-in-law Xiao Qi talked to was a pretty woman around Xiao Qiufeng's age who had always been standing behind him. Above her head was the name Wang Xiao Wang. She was the well-known mistress of the Battle Alliance, who took care of the administration of the Battle Alliance and supported Xiao Qiufeng extremely well. After Xiao Qi and the others left, Wang Xiao Wang walked over and said with a smile, "It's almost like you don't want Ling Tian to be captured by the Yan Huang Alliance. Don't forget that our Battle Alliance is a subsidiary of the Yan Huang Alliance, and still receives orders from the Yan Huang Alliance." Xiao Qiufeng didn't nod or shake his head, instead wistfully saying, "Ling Tian is quite legendary. He's the only one who isn't afraid of the Yan Huang Alliance and doesn't take Long Tianyun seriously. It's hard for me not to respect such a person. In fact, I'd even like to be friends with him." "That's the reason?" "One of the reasons." More importantly, Xiao Qiufeng paused, then slightly sighed, "You should know what sort of guy Qi likes." Wang Xiao Wang nodded, "Are you saying that she has already fallen for Ling Tian? However, because of her situation, she's unwilling to express herself at all. All she can do is to watch him from behind and help him as much as she can. If Ling Tian suffers, the first person to also feel pain will be Qi. As such, I don't want to see Ling Tian destroyed by the Yan Huang Alliance. I especially don't want to see Ling Tian disappear from the virtual world, otherwise Qi won't be able to meet him anymore. Otherwise, with Qi's personality, it'll probably be incredibly difficult for her to be happy again." Wang Xiao Wang lapsed into silence, and nodded, her face revealing a pained expression. Qi, haha, don't worry, everything's going to be alright. Yunfeng said cheerfully, "See, even the Armored Cavalry and Heaven's Net Corps were unable to capture Ling Tian. In future, it's going to be almost impossible for them to kill him." Surprisingly, Xiao Qiufeng shook his head, "You're being too optimistic. Although the Armored Cavalry were unable to kill him, they were able to trap him, whereas the Heaven's Net Corps were unable to kill him because of his items. In the end, Ling Tian is just a single person. Unless he can destroy the entire Yan Huang Alliance, it'll be impossible for him to continue to fight with them like this. Moreover, including himself, Heart's Dream has less than 10 members." "That's true," Yunfeng nodded, "but in the end, he was able to escape from both the Armored Cavalry and Heaven's Net Corps. Apart from him, who can do such a thing? I bet before today, you didn't think that anyone could escape from the Heaven's Net Corps, right?" "Ha ha ha," Xiao Qiufeng laughed, "Indeed, this Ling Tian is incredibly strong. This time he's once again going to make waves in all of China. I'd really like to see him fighting against Eve someday. His abilities have definitely already reached the god level that Eve has achieved." The Yan Huang Alliance members stayed at the plains region looking for Ling Tian until the sun had set, but received nothing for their efforts. In the end, they gave up and left, feeling extremely bitter and humiliated. Needless to say, the story of Ling Tian's battle with the Armored Cavalry and Heaven's Net Corps was spread throughout all of China, causing countless players to worship him. Once again, the stepping stone for his fame was the Yan Huang Alliance. Melee Army, 313 deaths, all killed by Ling Tian. Armored Cavalry, 132 deaths, half were killed by their own comrades. Heaven's Net Corps, 392 deaths, all of them were killed by each other. Long Tianyun silently listened to the report, his face incredibly terrifying. The Yan Huang Alliance's high-ranking members all stared at the floor, afraid to even breathe. Bam! The completely silent hall shook as Long Tianyun hit the table with his hand, causing everyone's hearts to skip a beat. He slowly stood up, and said in a low voice, "Is there anything else you have to say?" "Young master." Ling Qian, before Ling Qian escaped, he said. "What did he say?" "He said that in future, he would be returning the favor with interest." Long Tianyun expressionlessly asked. "Yes." "Humph." Long Tianyun looked up, a piercing look in his eyes. "Looks like I underestimated Ling Tian. Issue out my command, cancel the kill on-site order for Ling Tian tomorrow." Everyone in the hall was surprised to say the least. Long Tianyun's hatred towards Ling Tian was unquenchable. After what happened today, why would he do such a thing? Just because I've cancelled the kill on-site order for Ling Tian doesn't mean I've forgiven him. I'm just changing over to a more direct method. Long Tianyun walked to the middle of the hall, and turned on the projector. On the screen was Ling Tian's picture. Everyone looked at the screen, waiting to see what Long Tianyun's more direct method was. From tomorrow onwards, concentrate your efforts on finding Ling Tian's real-life identity. For now, limit the search to Beijing. Long Tianyun slowly said. "Young master, are you saying that Ling Tian is living in Beijing?" "That's right." Long Tianyun nodded. He flicked his wrist, and there appeared a picture of 3 people on the screen, 1 male and 2 females. The male was Ling Tian without a doubt, and the other 2 were Shui Ruo and Tian Tian. However, their faces could not be seen due to their masks. These 2 women are Ling Tian's little sisters. Remember the features of their bodies, and investigate his entire family. I want to see results within 2 weeks. Long Tianyun ominously said as he stared down all the players in the hall. "Ling Tian, are you alright? Where are you?" This was Yun Feng's voice. Ling Chen replied, "Of course I'm alright. If I want to escape, no one can stop me." That's good. There's something I want to tell you. Long Tianyun has cancelled the kill on-site order on you. Even the teams patrolling around in Azure Dragon City have been recalled. Oh? Ling Chen was instantly suspicious. This doesn't seem right. What are his reasons behind this? I'm not too sure about that. However, I heard that Long Tianyun finally obtained a guild creation token, so I'm guessing he wants to concentrate his efforts on officially establishing the Yan-Huang Alliance. By today, the Yan-Huang Alliance will be officially established, and within 10 days, it will be fully up and running. When that happens, the Yan-Huang Alliance within the Mystic Moon will develop even faster. Once it has fully developed, it'll definitely be the largest guild in the world, and will be unstoppable. Long Tianyun isn't a good-natured fellow. Once the Yan-Huang Alliance has developed, he'll definitely start hunting you down again, and when that time comes, I'm afraid that you won't be as lucky as you have been, so please be careful. Although Ling Tian had defeated the Yan-Huang Alliance a few times, in the end, he was still a single person, and was like an ant compared to the Yan-Huang Alliance. The current Yan-Huang Alliance was like a pile of sand, but once it had fully developed, it would become an unbreakable steel board. When that time came, escaping from them would be countless times more difficult. After talking to Yun Feng, Ling Chen lapsed into silence. What's wrong? Feeling some pressure? Within Ling Chen's mind, Chiyu's soft voice sounded out. A little bit, Ling Chen replied. In the end, a single person's unable to stand up against such a massive power. Up until now, all I've done is make Long Tianyun waste some money and damage the Yan-Huang Alliance's reputation. However, it's impossible for me to actually hurt the Yan-Huang Alliance. Back then, I tried to kill Long Tianyun in the real world, but I was unable to, and almost died. It seems that trying to take away everything from him in this world will also be quite difficult. That's not necessarily true, Qiyu said. If Little Master can find all of the orbs of the Lunar Scourge, even destroying the Yan-Huang Alliance would be incredibly easy. Ling Chen shrugged, helplessly saying, I got it, I'll do my best to find them. Hee, looks like little master completely and utterly hates Long Tianyun. But then again, almost killing my little master makes him deserve the worst punishment. Qiu giggled. Ling Chen, I hope that Xiao Fengchen really can help me find the Heaven's Secret Sect. That way, finding the orbs will be much easier. However, right now, my top priority is saving Xiling. In about a week, I'll be able to get to Vermillion Bird City. Ling Chen said as he looked into the distance. Finding the Vermillion Bird is as hard as reaching the heavens. Getting the Vermillion Bird to give up its own rootless flames is pretty much impossible. The Vermillion Bird is the guardian beast of the Vermillion Bird City, and is almost worshipped like a religion by the Vermillion Bird City's residents. How can the Vermillion Bird, who is in charge of protecting the Vermillion Bird City, be willing to give up its life for another creature? Is Little Master still going to go ahead with this? How do we know it's going to be impossible if we don't try? Ling Chen resolutely replied as he spurred his mount onwards. The Li family financial group was something that everyone in China knew about. After all, its head was someone who could shake the whole world, the richest man in China, Li Yunzhe. No one knew how rich Li Yunzhe really was. His Li family financial group was a behemoth even in world finances. The one controlling the Li family financial group wasn't just Li Yunzhe, but also his 23-year-old daughter, the incredibly famous Lulan Queen Li Xiaoshui. In the high-class society, there was a rumor that the Li family financial group was able to increase its finances by 5 times over the past 5 years because of Li Xiaoshui. This rumor caused countless people to be completely shocked, and most people were simply unable to believe it. They couldn't believe that a woman could have such looks and figure, and yet be even more capable than her father. She was simply perfect. 3.5 years ago, Li Xiaoshui had officially entered the virtual world, and had expended a fortune on creating her exclusively female guild, Snow Moon Lulan, from which she received her nickname Lulan Queen. Although she was on the heaven rankings, but her main focus wasn't on fighting, but on finances. 3.5 years ago, she made an agreement with her father that he would control the assets in the real world, whereas she would focus on the assets in the virtual world. Since a long time ago, the average amount of time people spent in the virtual world already exceeded the time they spent in the real world. The business opportunities in the virtual world now far exceeded those in the real world. She had joined Mystic Moon as soon as it had opened, so as to further develop her Li family financial group in the virtual world. At the southern part of the Azure Dragon City, within a luxurious tea house, in a VIP room, Yunmeng Xian sat by herself, waiting for someone. When the door finally opened, Yunmeng Xian stood up and smiled at the person who opened the door. It was a woman who was around her age, whose beautiful face also held a degree of dignity and prestige. She was wearing an extremely beautiful purple dress. It was the most expensive dress available at the Azure Dragon tailor shop, and was worth around the amount of money an average person would earn in their lifetime. Standing on the same ground, she was about half a head taller than Yunmeng Xian, and her proud figure could make anyone gaze in awe. Her curves were enough to mesmerize any man, and with such a body and temperament, she could make any man hers. Meng Xian, sorry for making you wait. Seeing Yunmeng Xian, Li Xiaoshui warmly smiled, looking at this girl who even the young master of the Long family fell for, as she greeted her. I didn't wait for too long. Xiaoshui, we haven't met for 3 years, but you're looking even better than ever. These years, I've heard many things about you, and not just me, but even my seniors admire you from the bottom of our hearts. Li Xiaoshui smiled, and sat opposite Yunmeng Xian as she replied, I've heard many people say these sorts of things to me, but it's hard to accept such words coming from you. We're both women, and speaking of beauty, I won't lose out to anyone, except you. Beauty is one of the most important assets to a woman, and Meng Xian's beauty is unparalleled among all the women I've met. I heard that since a few years ago, you would always block your face when going out to avoid trouble. Currently, Yunmeng Xian was wearing a veil. To her, it had already become a habit. Li Xiaoshui didn't mind Yunmeng Xian wearing the veil. After all, no woman liked to see other women more beautiful than themselves. This was all the more so for women who were quite beautiful. Li Xiaoshui leaned forward, and rested her chin on her hands, as she smiled, Meng Xian, since we're sisters, let's not just sit here complimenting each other. Did you call me here today because you missed me? After all these years, I've missed you a lot. Yunmeng Xian also smiled. In reality, she and Li Xiaoshui weren't that close, one lived in the north and one lived in the south. They had only met a few times before, but had favorable impressions of each other. Yunmeng Xian gently said, Xiaoshui, your time is more precious than anyone's. I'm very glad you came to meet me today. I don't want to waste your time, so I'll get straight to the point. Li Xiaoshui nodded. Yunmeng Xian slightly sighed, and spoke, you know of my bet with my father, right? And, within our circle, pretty much everyone knows. This information was spread by your father, to apply pressure on you. If you lose, you won't have anywhere to retreat to. Li Xiaoshui said. At first, I thought you were very dumb, because that bet seemed almost impossible to win. The reason your father made that bet with you was to give you a bit of hope, then crush it, so that you would no longer struggle, and obediently follow his plans. However, I knew that with Meng Xian's personality, even if it was a tiny bit of hope, you would do your best to make it become reality. As a woman, she could understand Yunmeng Xian's situation, and felt deeply sorry for her. Perhaps it was because even the heavens were jealous of her beauty that they decided to take away even her freedom. Meng Xian, if it's about that, then I'll do everything in my power to help you. Yunmeng Xian's eyes trembled when she heard this. Li Xiaoshui's promises were worth 1,000 in gold. Even though they were not that close, Meng Xian was extremely touched that she was willing to go to such lengths for her. She smiled and said, Thank you Xiaoshui, that means so much to me. Today, I came to ask you, if you'd like to form a partnership. Oh? Partnership? Li Xiaoshui was slightly surprised as she asked in an interested voice. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. After looking through the contents of the paper scroll, Li Xiaoshui's eyes widened in shock. She read through it a few times, and slowly said, I never thought the title deed for the land to the west side of the Azure Dragon Central Square would be in your hands. The best location in Azure Dragon City was, no doubt, the areas near the Central Square, as this was where there was the most foot traffic. There was a single prime area that did not have anything developed on it yet, as if it was left just for players. As such, as soon as the money exchange system opened, many people tried to buy the rights to that piece of land, but were all rejected. They were all told to go to the Azure Dragon City's land management department, but everyone who went there was told that only the mayor could grant the rights for that piece of land. For normal players, it was simply impossible to meet the mayor. However, with Li Xiaoshui's capabilities, meeting the mayor was not an issue at all. What was unexpected was that someone had already bought the rights to that piece of land, and it was a player. Li Xiaoshui had always been trying to guess who that player was. Her biggest suspicion was the Yan-Huang alliance. As such, she was completely shocked when she found that it actually belonged to Yunmeng Xian. Yunmeng Xian nodded, I believe that with Xiaoshui's intelligence, you should probably know what this piece of land represents. The rights to the land for 3 months, and almost a month has already passed, Li Xiaoshui muttered as she thought to herself. Back then we had limited funds, so we could only buy the rights for 3 months. If we want to buy the rights permanently, it's not impossible. Yunmeng Xian said. After the money exchange system opened, Li Xiaoshui immediately went to talk to the mayor. This meant that the rights to the land had been purchased prior to the money exchange system opening. Although it was only for 3 months, but the price would have been astronomical at the time. Who could gather such an amount of money in such a short period of time? Yunmeng Xian? That was impossible, the only person who could possibly achieve such a feat. Li Xiaoshui suddenly thought of a person. It was the person who, allegedly, in order to woo Meng Xian, joined Heart's Dream to help her, Ling Qian. Li Xiaoshui smiled, seeing as Meng Xian was able to obtain this title deed, I'm sure that you'll also be able to obtain the rights to it permanently. So what is the partnership about? With Li Xiaoshui's experience and intelligence, how could she not know what the partnership would be about? Yunmeng Xian calmly replied, it's very simple. I want to work with Xiaoshui to develop that piece of land. Then, what will you contribute, and how much will you expect for your share? Li Xiaoshui's expression remained unchanged as she asked the crucial question. Yunmeng Xian had prepared for this question since a long time ago. She stretched out her hand, what I can provide is that title deed and myself. We'll split the profits 50-50. Li Xiaoshui smiled, and stood up, just as Meng Xian said, developing that piece of land requires labor, capital and finances, all of which my Li family is going to provide, while Meng Xian is only going to provide the land. Indeed, that piece of land is incredibly valuable, but wanting to split 50-50 is something that I simply cannot accept. Hearing this refusal from Li Xiaoshui, Yunmeng Xian did not panic at all, but did not back down either. She also stood up, and began to pace as she said, if it was any other place, this would be completely unfair to Xiaoshui. However, Xiaoshui, of all people, should know just how special the land to the west of the central square is. Azure Dragon City is the place that players stay in the longest, and is the first place players come to when they reach the Forgotten Continent. Currently, the Azure Dragon Central Square has the most foot traffic in the entire city. Imagine, if your Li family's sign was hung up there, the first thing players would see when coming to the Azure Dragon City would be your Li family's name. Moreover, the buildings you construct will be the first player-constructed buildings in the entire Mystic Moon. Not only will your Li family receive fame from people seeing and visiting the buildings, but also from being recorded down as the first players to develop their own buildings in Mystic Moon. So what? Li Xiaoshui looked at her earnestly. She completely understood what Yunmeng Xian had just said. This was also part of the reason why so many people were desperate to have this piece of land and why it was so valuable. She knew that if the Li family could develop that piece of land, their development in the Mystic Moon world would skyrocket. However, a 50-50 split of the profits was something that she wasn't quite willing to accept. Even though she knew that Yunmeng Xian was in need of money, an astronomical figure, she wasn't willing to relent so easily. What you said is correct, but remember, the Azure Dragon City is only the beginning of players' journeys. Once players reach LV50, they will move to the royal city of the Forgotten Continent, and this place will become almost worthless. Yunmeng Xian was calm as she rebutted this statement. This was something that I also took into consideration in the past. However, for the average player to reach LV50, that will take at least half a year. Xiaoshui, you should know the importance of a good foundation. The Azure Dragon City is indeed just a foundation for players, but this foundation is incredibly important. Moreover, since I was able to obtain the title deed to the prime area of the Azure Dragon City, I also have confidence that I will be the first to obtain the prime area of the royal city. Yunmeng Xian's words caused Li Xiaoshui's heart to start beating faster. She thought for a while, before replying, your confidence, does it come from Ling Qian? Because he's trying to woo you, he's willing to help you win your bet with your father. He even went so far as to help you create Heart's Dream, the first official guild in Mystic Moon. Yunmeng Xian simply smiled and replied, indeed, my confidence comes from Ling Qian. Ling Qian, it has not been very long since he appeared, but his fame has soared since he made his debut. He's even willing and capable to offend Long Tianyun. Such a person is indeed someone to be confident in. Li Xiaoshui slowly said, I also know that in order to win that bet, you need a large amount of money. Even if it was me, amassing such a large amount of money would be impossible. I originally thought that it would be impossible for you to win that bet with your father, until Ling Tian appeared. If he really helps you with all of his power, then you really will have a chance in winning. I'm guessing that title deed you have was given to you by Ling Tian, right? I want to know that if I rejected your proposal, or demanded better terms for my Li family, what would you do? I would find other parties to partner up with. I'm sure that there will be many people interested in this business venture. Yunmeng Xian unhesitatingly replied. Li Xiaoshui returned to her seat, and sat down. She took a small sip of tea, her expression extremely calm. In that case, can you tell me why the first person you chose was me? Also, why didn't you want to be the one in control of all of this? I'm sure you could have waited until you had enough capital before beginning. Right now, I have 900 million gold, which is just enough. However, I can't do anything in my own name, otherwise my father and Long Tianyun will do all they can to suppress my efforts. The reason I chose you was because your Li family has both reputation and power. Moreover, with your Li family operating at the front, no one will suspect anything. For your Li family to obtain the title deed to this piece of land is something that no one would be surprised at. However, the most important reason is that I trust you, Xiaoshui. I need a lot of money. Only by giving this title deed to you, the woman who increased her family's fortune by 5-fold in 5 years, will I become close to achieving my goal. Li Xiaoshui looked down, deep in thought. Yunmeng Xian giving the title deed to someone else was something she definitely did not want to see. She thought for a long time before replying, that place, on the face of things, will be completely owned by my Li family, and will have nothing to do with you, right? Yunmeng Xian nodded. Can you promise that you will be the first to obtain the title deed for the royal city? Li Xiaoshui asked. Yunmeng Xian nodded, I believe in Ling Tian. Very well. Li Xiaoshui held out her hand, Meng Xian, let's work well together. Yunmeng Xian extended her hand and shook Li Xiaoshui's hand. Xiaoshui, thank you. Also, no matter if it's the Azure Dragon City, or any other places, I will only take my share for 2 years. After 2 years, everything will belong to your Li family. Li Xiaoshui's face froze, and her expression gradually became one of extreme shock. Meng Xian, are you crazy? Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord _of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile _Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. Can you really let go of such a large fortune though? Li Xiaoshui asked. To her, as well as the Li family, this was a once-in-a-lifetime deal. However, she simply didn't understand why Yunmeng Xian would do such a thing. She definitely wasn't a stupid woman. In 2 years, if I win, then I will have the same amount of money as the Yun family financial group, that alone will be more than enough for me to live on for the rest of my life. If I lose, even if I have 10 times as much money, what would be the point? The riches are limitless, but so are a human's desires. I don't want to let myself become a slave for riches. 2 years of profits is enough. Let's just say that the rest is my gift to Xiaoshui. Yunmeng Xian smiled. Xiaoshui, who is so shrewd and experienced in business, was willing to accept my terms of 50-50 profits so easily. I know why Xiaoshui agreed so easily, so let me thank you in return. Li Xiaoshui's face froze, and her expression became complicated. She replied slowly as she bit her lips, Meng Xian, this gift is simply too big. Even though we haven't even begun, but I know that this is the biggest gift I've ever received in my whole life. The title deed you have has allowed me to see a new direction that the Li family financial group can grow in. However, Meng Qian, there are some things that I want to say to you plainly. Please go ahead. Yun Meng Qian courteously said. Li Xiaoshui nodded, and spoke, your father is the head of the Yun family financial group. Based on my information, just your father alone has $160 billion, which is an astronomical figure. Moreover, from what I heard, the bet was that within 2 years, you need to have enough money to rival the entire Yun family financial group, and not just his own assets. As the daughter of the head of the family group, do you know how much the entire Yun family financial group is worth? Yun Meng Qian shook her head. Li Xiaoshui didn't find this strange at all. The Yun family financial group was spread out throughout the entirety of China, so it was difficult to keep track of just how much the group had. Even the high-ranking members wouldn't know exactly how much. Yun Meng Qian didn't participate much in the affairs of the Yun family financial group, so her not knowing was normal. Li Xiaoshui spread out her fingers, $500 billion. This is the current value of the Yun family financial group. Even if the Yun family financial group doesn't grow at all, you'll need to amass at least $500 billion to win that bet. Forgetting about reputation and fame for now, do you have confidence that you'll be able to obtain $500 billion before then? Yun Meng Qian, even if it was a large international corporation, obtaining $500 billion within 2 years would be incredibly difficult. This is even more so for Meng Qian, who doesn't have much except a title deed. Moreover, the only finances you currently have is $900 million. You should know that your Yun family, as well as my Li family, are only where they are now after generations of hard work. Li Xiaoshui paused for a moment, then continued, I'm confident that you can obtain the best areas in this world for us, and for the sake of my Li family, I will also put in my 100%. Even if we can obtain the prime area for the royal city, and everything goes well, in these 2 years, your share of the profits will be close to $5 billion, compared to the $500 billion you need. Moreover, in the first 1 or 2 years, my Li family will be operating at a loss. Only after 2 or 3 years, when my Li family has expanded to the entire forgotten continent, will we quickly reap our profits. I already know all of this. Yun Meng Qian said softly. She knew that even if everything went perfectly according to plan, it would only be a cup of water thrown into a bucket that she needed to fill. The Yun family wasn't just some ordinary rich family, they were the second largest family financial group in China. However, what she didn't expect was that she needed more than $500 billion. Despite this, she did not feel defeated at all, because within her heart, she knew that she already had treasures that surpassed that fortune of $500 billion, those friends who fought by her side and brought light and color into her dark world. For her, and for them, even if the target was as unreachable as the sky, she couldn't despair or give up. She could only look up, smile and face it head-on, just like what Ling Chen had said. I believe that Ling Chen will be able to create another miracle. After all, miracles only happen for those who put in all of their effort and sincerity. Yun Meng Qian said as she smiled. Even though Li Xiaoshui had said all those things, she saw that Meng Qian's resolution had not decreased by even a bit. Seeing this, she felt quite moved. She held out her hand to Meng Qian. I also believe that Ling Chen will be able to create this miracle for you. Let's work hard together. 2 beautiful hands gently came together, as both women gave a firm handshake. Neither woman knew that this would become the beginning of a legend. Yun Meng Qian asking Li Xiaoshui to partner up with her was out of desperation. It was also her only choice. Like Li Xiaoshui said, with the Li family's manpower, capital and finances, she would be able to earn a fortune that most people couldn't earn in several lifetimes. However, it was still not enough for what she needed. To be able to obtain the title deed for that prime area, obtaining the rights permanently wasn't too hard either. Ling Chen went to the Azure Dragon City, and quickly obtained a permanent title deed for an acceptable amount of money. Yunmeng Xian completely gave up on her battle profession, and instead worked with Li Xiaoshui to develop that piece of land. Li Xiaoshui decided that that piece of land would be the headquarters for the Li family's chain of stores in Mystic Moon. A few days later, many large buildings had already been built, with the Li family's signs on them. Within the virtual world, as long as one had enough money, construction would take a very short period of time. For a large building with tens of floors, with enough money, construction would only take a week or so. This was one of the largest advantages of the virtual world. Now that more and more players had reached LV20, there were more and more guild creation tokens being found. On the guild rankings, it was no longer just Heart's Dream. The Yan Huang Alliance's name also appeared, but unlike in previous games, it was now ranked second, with Heart's Dream sitting on top of it. 3 days later, the Skyfall Dynasty's name appeared in the third position, and 5 days later, the Golden Age Alliance's name also appeared. After giving the permanent title deed to Meng Xian, Ling Chen had not returned to the Azure Dragon City since. He spent all of his time on traveling to the Vermillion Bird City. As he headed further south, he could feel the temperature getting hotter and hotter. After 8 days, he finally reached the Vermillion Bird City. From afar, no matter if it was the city gates or the structures within the city, none of them looked as extravagant and impressive as those of the Azure Dragon City. Despite this, it still held the grandness and dignity of a main city. Finally, the Vermillion Bird City. Since he had made the decision to come here until now, he had spent about 20 or so days. If not for Ying Shui's nature's ring sending him so far to the south, he would have had to spend an extra 10 to 15 days to get here. Shi Ling, wait for me. I'll definitely find the Vermillion Bird. Ling Chen silently thought to himself as he sped towards the Vermillion Bird City's gates. The city guards did not try to stop him at all, and Ling Chen was able to enter easily. The Vermillion Bird City streets were not as bustling and busy as those in the Azure Dragon City. Evidently, the low population was due to most players not being able to even reach this city yet. Ling Chen believed that he was definitely the first player to enter the Vermillion Bird City. Another reason for there being so few people in the Vermillion Bird City was simply because the climate was too hot. Not too long after entering the city, Ling Chen's body was already covered in sweat. However, it was normal for a city in the south to have such climate. It's Australia. Ho, young adventurer, seeing your clothing and your sweat, I'm guessing you just got here. I recommend going to buy a few bowls of ice porridge. After drinking some ice porridge, you'll feel much better. A middle-aged auntie said as she smiled at him. Ice porridge? Ling Chen nodded towards that middle-aged auntie. Yes, I just got here. Thanks for your advice. You're welcome, may the moon gods bless you. Seeing how the auntie was not sweating or panting at all, she was evidently a resident of the Vermillion Bird City who had lived here for a long time. Opening his map, Ling Chen saw all the different streets within the Vermillion Bird City. Of course, the mayor's residence was right at the center of the city, a bit to the north of the marketplace. In the end, Ling Chen had a single purpose for coming to the Vermillion Bird City to find the Vermillion Bird. Qi Yu had told him that in order to find the Vermillion Bird, it would be best not to ask the residents or the mayor where it was, lest he receive their fury. After all, the Vermillion Bird was the guardian beast of the Vermillion Bird City, and was incredibly important to its residents. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. Easy, Qi Yu replied, as the guardian beast of the Vermillion Bird City, it will not be more than 100 kilometers away from the Vermillion Bird City. The hottest place within 100 kilometers of the Vermillion Bird City should be where the Vermillion Bird is. The Vermillion bird's flames are beaten only by those of the golden crow and phoenixes, and in order to maintain its energy, it likes to rest in extremely hot places. The hottest place within 100 kilometers. Ling Chen took out his map, and looked around the area within 100 kilometers of the Vermillion bird city. Very quickly, he found that a part of the map was colored in crimson red. This region's name was Lava Purgatory. Lava Purgatory, a region that emits monstrously high temperatures all year round. It is split into the outer region, middle region, and inner region. The outer region is filled with wild flames, the middle region is almost impossible to get through, and the inner region is filled with raging magma. Most creatures will instantly die by going into such a place. It is the hottest place in the entire Forgotten Continent, and some of the flames inside can burn through almost anything. Many years ago, a person got through the outer region through sheer determination and the middle region with the help of the underworld armor. However, after entering the inner region, the underworld armor began to quickly melt, and that person could only retreat, and never again dared to try to enter the inner region. The Lava Purgatory is said to be where the Vermillion bird was born, and their flames are linked to each other. Legend says that if the Vermillion bird dies, the fires within the Lava Purgatory will also be extinguished. Lava Purgatory. Ling Chen said to Qian. Oh, if that place still exists, then it should be where the Vermillion bird is. After all, that's where the Vermillion bird was born. However, the Lava Purgatory is the hottest place in all of the Forgotten Continent, and even celestial, or even Heaven's End, beasts would be burnt to crisp inside. It's simply impossible for Little Master to get close. Even so, let's have a look. Qian's words didn't have any effect on Ling Chen. He quickly memorized the fastest route to the Lava Purgatory, and checked the number of potions he had, before calling out the cloud-stepping mare and charged towards the southern gates of the Vermillion bird city. What a stubborn child, Qian laughed. I hope that with your efforts, another miracle will happen. Ling Chen had spent more than half a month traveling to the Vermillion bird city. This was despite knowing that he might not even find the Vermillion bird, and that even if he could, it would be very unlikely that it would sacrifice itself for Ling. After all, if a stranger brought another dying stranger to Ling Chen, asking him to give up his life for that stranger, he would definitely reply with 2 words, piss off. It was possible that after hearing what he said, the Vermillion bird might even just instantly burn him to crisp. As the guardian beast of a major city, how could it sacrifice itself for a player's pet? Despite all of this, Ling Chen had spent so much effort and time to get here, and had never considered giving up. Only the Vermillion bird could save Ling. No matter how little hope there was, he definitely had to try. What gave him a bit of hope was that Ling's flames were special. She had the same level of flames as the golden crow, which was even higher than the Vermillion bird's flames. Maybe, just maybe, seeing how special Ling was, and considering that it had lived for long enough, it might just decide to save Ling. Just this tiny bit of hope was enough for him to give it his all. 100 kilometers was not too far away. With his current movement speed, while continuously charging at full speed on the cloud-stepping mare, he could reach the Lava Purgatory before the end of the day. Somewhere to the south of the Vermillion bird city, you old monster, even with our bonds, you're still not willing to help? With your personality, no wonder you're still single. AI, how many times have I told you, it's not that I'm not willing, it's that I really can't help. Revealing heaven's secrets goes against the natural order. After living so long, if I continue to reveal heaven's secrets, I'll definitely receive divine punishment, and might even die on the spot. 2 old men were talking to each other. One looked around 60 years old, and had a messy beard and hair that was mostly white. He was wearing tattered gray clothing, which seemed to at least look decently clean. Although he was an old man, he kept jumping up and down, and his expressions were extremely comical. The other old man looked around 70 or 80 years old, wore a green Taoist robe, and held a horsetail whisk in his hands. His hair was extremely white, and was so long that it reached his waist. The ancient and wise look in his eyes made him look like an enlightened immortal. Despite the ramblings of the man opposite him, his expression did not change at all. Death, 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 you've lived more than 2,000 years and yet you're still afraid of death. TCH, after cultivating for so many years, this is as far as you've gotten? It seems that the more you cultivate, the worse you get. No wonder you're still single. The old man in gray said. AI, it's not that I'm afraid of death, but I simply can't afford to die. Brother Shao, when you were locked up in the lunar sky hell, you were determined not to die either. Was that because you were afraid of death? I am the same as you were then. I don't want to die without finding a successor for my heaven's secret sect. I will try to help Brother Shao with his request, but I can't guarantee anything. The old man in green said as he sighed. Forget it, forget it. The old man in gray waved his hand. I've heard you give this excuse hundreds of times. However, you finding a successor will be even harder than me finding one. Back then, I looked throughout the entire Forgotten Continent, but couldn't find anyone. After suffering in the lunar sky hell for 1,000 years, I found an exceptionally talented successor, so I guess that was worth it. As for you, apart from newly born babies, in this day and age, where can you find someone whose heart contains no malice or wickedness at all? Even if it's someone who has never done a single bad deed in their life, their hearts will always be hiding some sort of wickedness. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't be a normal person. However, you're adamant that you won't pass on your power to infants. Old monster, you're such a smart person, and yet you found such a trash disciple in the past. He actually tried to use the Heaven's Secret Sect's power to try to find treasure troves. He totally deserved being struck to death with lightning. Desires are shapeless and colorless, and are almost impossible to detect. By the time I found out, it was already too late. Moreover, newborn infants aren't without wickedness or malice either, it's just that their wickedness hasn't had time to develop yet. Only a person who has grown up, and yet still has a pure heart, can become the successor to my Heaven's Secret Sect. I have at least 30 years in my lifespan. If I can find this sort of person within those 30 years, then I can die with no regrets. The old man in green replied. The old man in gray rolled his eyes as he gnashed his teeth. Goddamn, you old fool weren't able to help me at all, but asked so much of me. Forget it, since you're still pitiably single, I'll help you. Since the Forgotten Continent's so big, there's bound to be all sorts of people. Maybe these sorts of naive fools really do exist. I'll see if I can find one for you. Thank you for your trouble, Brother Shao. The old man in green said as he laughed. In the distance, the sound of a horse galloping traveled into their ears. The old man in gray muttered, Damn, there are even people coming to this godforsaken place. When he looked closer, his eyes widened as he jumped up. Holy crap, it's that kid. Oh. He's the one who I mentioned to you 100 times, the freak who was able to counter my Feng Chen curses. The one who needs your help. The further Ling Chen rode, the hotter it became, and the less people there were. Most of the monsters here were fire type, which would make this place heaven for water mages. Of course, the prerequisite was that they could endure the heat here. After riding for a long time, he saw two people. When he saw the old man in tattered gray clothing, his jaw almost fell to the ground. He stopped the cloud-stepping mare and jumped off, calling out, Brother Shao, why are you here? This old man, was Shao Feng Chen. I should be asking you. There are no shops or even grass around here, so why would you come all the way out here? Shao Feng Chen looked up and down Ling Chen more than 10 times. He simply couldn't believe in such a vast forgotten continent, they had met again in such a short time. What's more, they had met in the north of the Forgotten Continent, whereas this was the south of the Forgotten Continent. Shao Feng Chen could travel hundreds of kilometers in a day, but it would take a normal person more than a month to get from that place to where they were now. This kid's Feng Chen technique shouldn't be so effective. This is perfect though. Xiao Fengchen pulled Ling Chen over in front of the old man in green. Look, you told me to help you find the Heaven's Secret Sect, so I immediately went to find this guy. This is the old monster from the Heaven's Secret Sect. What was your name again? Anyways, I found him, but he's not willing to help, so it's not my fault. If you have any methods, you can ask him yourself. The old man in green had already heard about Ling Chen from Xiao Fengchen. After finding a successor, Xiao Fengchen couldn't help but boast and boast and boast. The old man in green swung his horsetail whisk, and amicably smiled at Ling Chen. This humble Taoist is the current sect leader of the Heaven's Secret Sect, Tian Qing. These days I've heard much about this little friend from old man Xiao. Hello, Taoist Tian Qing. Ling Chen bowed in respect. The Heaven's Secret Sect leader was an incredible figure. Back then, he had only mentioned the Heaven's Secret Sect to Xiao Fengchen to test him. He never expected Xiao Fengchen to take it so seriously. After separating for less than 10 days, Xiao Fengchen had already found the person, and they had actually met by such coincidence. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. AI, Taoist Tian Qing sighed, humans' desires are boundless. My Heaven's Secret Sect has hidden away for so many years. What we were hiding away from was human greed. Brother Xiao and I are extremely close, but he has never requested anything of me before. After so many years, this is the first time he's asked me to help him with something. I will definitely do all I can to help Brother Xiao, but I can't reveal the Heaven's secrets. Why not? Ling Chen asked, unable to understand. I'm sure you've heard of the phrase, the mysteries of heaven must not be revealed. My Heaven's Secret Sect specializes in finding out such mysteries and secrets. However, no matter how powerful a human is, they're unable to go against the heavens. Revealing the heaven's secrets is going against the heavens. If we reveal too much, then we receive divine punishment. The sole requirement for entering our Heaven's Secret Sect is for a person to be completely pure-hearted and without any malice or wickedness. Otherwise, if they use their powers for selfish and immoral gains, even the entire Heaven's Secret Sect could be punished. As such, the more pure-hearted one is, the more secrets they are able to see. The more wicked, less secrets they will be able to see. If one goes above their limit, they will receive divine punishment. I've revealed heaven's secrets 1,200 times in my lifetime, which is my maximum. If I reveal any more, I'll be punished by the heavens, and may even die on the spot. Taoist Tian Qing apologetically explained. It's true. In the Heaven's Secret Sect, having completely white hair is a symbol of someone having reached their limit. Qiyu suddenly said, then sighed. She knew a lot more than Ling Chen about the Heaven's Secret Sect, and as soon as she saw Taoist Tian Qing, she already knew that he would not be able to help them. So it's like this, Ling Chen thought regretfully. He wasn't willing to give up so easily though. Then what about the other members of the Heaven's Secret Sect? Taoist Tian Qing laughed sorrowfully. There were only 5 members 1,000 years ago, and now only I am left. The other 4 people have all died from revealing too many of Heaven's secrets. Ling Chen, it's a pity that I'm unable to help little friend. Currently, I'm planning on traveling throughout the Forgotten Continent to find a suitable successor. If I can find a successor, I'll definitely let them help little friend to find what he needs to find. Taoist Tian Qing said. The mighty Heaven's Secret Sect leader was speaking with such courtesy to a junior. This made Ling Chen have a very good impression of him. If sect leader can do this for me, Ling Tian will be eternally grateful. Xiao Fengchen came over as he rambled, grateful my ass, this old monster only knows how to waffle on, but he can't help it all. He even wants me to do all this work and use my Fengchen technique to help him to find a successor. Oi, old monster, even if you can't help us, can you at least do some fortune-telling for my successor? See if, with his fortune, he's able to bring glory to my Fengchen sect. Fortune-telling? Ling Chen asked in surprise. That's right, fortune-telling. This old monster isn't much good for anything else, but he's pretty good at fortune-telling. Before I was imprisoned in the lunar sky hell, this guy already told me that I would experience 1,000 years of darkness. At that time, I kicked him a few times, but I never thought that the fortune would actually come true. Fortune-telling counts as looking into one's own fortune, so it doesn't count as heaven's secrets. Since he won't die from it, you might as well get him to tell your fortune. Old monster, let's see how good my successor's fortune is. Before Ling Chen could even say anything, Fengchen had already pushed him in front of Daoist Tian Qing. Daoist Tian Qing didn't refuse either, and smiled, all right then, I'll have a look at this little friend's fortune. This little friend was able to escape from lunar sky hell in one day, has incredible mental energy, and has now inherited the power of the Fengchen sect. Little friend is evidently cared for by the heavens, and looks like he'll have a good fortune. Come, raise your head. Ling Chen could only comply and raise his head, and could feel Daoist Tian Qing's eyes focused on his forehead. Daoist Tian Qing looked at him with a calm smile, and focused on his forehead. Suddenly, Daoist Tian Qing's eyes suddenly contracted, and his face changed. He stumbled back a few steps, and almost fell over. Daoist Tian Qing? What's going on? Ling Chen quickly rushed forwards to help stabilize Daoist Tian Qing, and noticing his change in expression, Fengchen also rushed over. Daoist Tian Qing had been cultivating in remote places for more than 1,000 years, and his heart was as still as water. When meeting Fengchen after 1,000 years, he had only smiled. Just then, his expression had definitely changed significantly. Daoist Tian Qing breathed in and out, and waved his hand, saying, it's fine, it's fine. Looks like I'm already at my limit. Not only am I unable to see heaven's secrets, but my fortune-telling has also gotten worse. AI. Daoist Tian Qing sighed as he shook his head. Upon closer observation, Ling Chen could see that Daoist Tian Qing's forehead was lined with cold sweat, and his face had gone pale. Ling Chen immediately suspected that something was wrong, but smiled and asked, it's all right, fortune-telling isn't that reliable anyways. If you can't tell my fortune, that's completely fine. Fengchen was evidently very displeased at Ling Chen's words. Oi, what do you mean not that reliable? You can pretend any fortunes from any other fortune-teller are just farts, but old monster's fortunes are guaranteed to be 100% accurate. Forget it, if you can't do it then forget about it. I was hoping he'd get a prosperous fortune, so my Fengchen sect could enjoy a few years of good luck. Right, boy, you never answered me, what are you doing here? Fengchen immediately forgot about the fortune-telling matter and changed the topic. I came here, to look for the Vermillion bird. Ling Chen said after hesitating for a bit. Looking for the Vermillion bird? Fengchen stared as he splattered Ling Chen's face with spit, more like looking to die. Look over to the south, can you see how red the sky is? That's where the Vermillion bird is, the lava purgatory. Anyone who goes in there will definitely die, myself and the old monster included. If you just go in there like you are now, you won't even see a single feather of the Vermillion bird before you're incinerated. It doesn't matter. Even if I'm incinerated, I can come back to life immediately. Ling Chen coolly replied. Daoist Tian Qing laughed, I think little friend should make the journey. Perhaps it will go well for you. The Heaven's Secret sect leader had casually said this, but Ling Chen's eyes shone, and he quickly nodded, with these words of good luck from the sect leader, I'll be going there immediately. Indeed, I'm in a rush to find the Vermillion bird, so I won't be staying any longer. Goodbye. Seeing how Fengchen wasn't going to be of any help, and with the Heaven's Secret Sect leader's words, Ling Chen couldn't wait as he sped off on his cloud-stepping mare. When Ling Chen had traveled a distance away, Xiao Fengchen suddenly grabbed Daoist Tian Qing, as he asked, "Old monster, what was with your reaction just then? You can trick that boy, but you can't trick me. Fortune-telling has nothing to do with revealing heaven's secrets. Just then, you were definitely afraid of something. Just what did you see on him?" Daoist Tian Qing's face became serious as he replied, "Fortune of great calamity. I have never seen a fortune of such calamity before." Fortune of great calamity? Xiao Fengchen's eyes widened. The more bright a person's fortune is, the more lucky and prosperous it will be. The darker it is, the more unlucky and calamity it will hold. As for him, I can't see anything at all. All there is endless darkness. I have never experienced so much malicious energy on a person before. When I saw it, it was like a mountain that crashed into my chest. Daoist Tian Qing said as he put his hand on his chest, "This sort of fortune goes far beyond the ordinary. Even a god would tremble at such a fortune. A person with a fortune like this is bound to have hands stained with countless people's blood, and will cause a great catastrophe." Bang! "Ow, why did you hit me?" Daoist Tian Qing, who was letting out cold sweat, was suddenly smacked on the head by Xiao Fengchen. Xiao Fengchen grabbed the horsetail whisk in Daoist Tian Qing's hands as he yelled, "Your mum's a calamity. That's my Fengchen sect successor, and you're saying he has a fortune of great calamity? I was completely confident in your fortunes, but I won't believe this one no matter what. Hands stained with countless people's blood, and will cause a great catastrophe. Heh, just that boy? Based on your impression of him, how's his strength? Wouldn't be able to take a single blow." Daoist Tian Qing replied. "Exactly. With that bit of strength, he can't even kill a big ant, let alone cause a catastrophe. At most, he'll be able to use the Fengchen curses to cause some trouble, but there are heaps of experts in the Forgotten Continent who can squish him to death. Plus, did you really feel malicious energy on him? No way, right? If he really did contain so much malicious energy, I definitely wouldn't choose him to be my Fengchen sect successor." Xiao Fengchen said, unimpressed. Daoist Tian Qing nodded. "Brother Zhao's words are indeed true. Looks like I have indeed reached my limit." Xiao Fengchen returned the horsetail whisk to Daoist Tian Qing and said, "It's normal that your fortune-telling isn't accurate on him. Think about it, with such weak strength, he was able to reflect my Fengchen curse. With such ridiculous mental energy, how could you see through it all? Plus, he's from a different world, so perhaps the way to tell his fortune is different to the way to tell the fortune for people in our world. Oh, also, why did you say that the journey would go well for him? That kid's definitely going to die." "It's because I could also see a thick aura of good luck around him, a fortune of great luck. With that sort of good luck, and his determination, I'm sure that the journey will go well." Daoist Tian Qing slowly said. "The heck? Fortune of great calamity, as well as fortune of great luck? You might as well say that he's both male and female, both fat and skinny. Looks like you've gone senile after these 1,000 years." Xiao Fengchen was on the verge of spitting on Tian Qing. "This AI, looks like I've made a fool of myself." Daoist Tian Qing felt quite awkward because of what had just happened. Bad luck and good luck were opposites, and yet they had both appeared on the same person at the same time. It was simply illogical to have both a fortune of great calamity and a fortune of great luck. Daoist Tian Qing once again sighed. It looked like there were some problems with his powers. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. It was already like this 10 kilometers away from the lava purgatory. Ling Chen wondered what it would be like inside. The hottest place in the entire Forgotten Continent was no simple place. Ling Chen took a few deep breaths before increasing his speed. After his cloud-stepping mare ran for another 100 meters or so, a person appeared within his vision. Why would there be a person in such a place? Ling Chen squinted, trying to see what the person looked like. Ling Chen's speed on the cloud-stepping mare was quite fast, and within moments, he could see the person clearly. He was wearing tattered clothing, which looked like they hadn't been washed in over 10 years. He had dark skin and was both skinny and short, and was half bald. His eyes were exceptionally large, and overall, he both looked and walked like a monkey. He held a wooden walking stick in his hand, and at first glance, he completely looked like a beggar. However, this person looked a bit familiar. Wait, this person. After half a second, Ling Chen suddenly remembered who this person was. This person was the one he had met while heading to the Lonely Spirit Ridge, the underworld merchant, Qian. That appearance, those clothes, that walking style, that walking stick, it was definitely him. Ling Chen was so excited that he almost jumped off his mount. Last time, when he met Qian, he had bought many incredibly rare and useful items. The map of the Forgotten Continent, which he heavily relied on, was bought from Qian. However, he was way too poor back then, and was unable to buy many of the items he wanted. But now, he thought to his 8 digits of gold coins, and grinned. Last time, he had desperately wanted to buy a flying scroll, which could directly increase the level of a skill, as well as a second jump skill scroll. This time, he definitely had to buy those. Ling Chen jumped off his cloud-stepping mare and put it away. He smiled as he walked towards Qian. When Qian saw him, he suddenly stopped, then dashed towards Ling Chen. This sudden movement surprised Ling Chen, who was thinking of how to talk to Qian. Standing in front of Ling Chen, Qian furiously sniffed a few times, and his eyes shone. The way he looked at Ling Chen was like someone eyeing a delicious meal. Rich. Are you the child of a super rich person? This smell, you probably have at least 60 million gold. 60 million. Ling Chen raised his eyebrows. This ability to sniff out how much money someone had was insane. After buying the permanent title deed, he was indeed left with about 60 million gold. Hey, kid, let me introduce myself. I'm Qian, a merchant who can go anywhere. Do you want to do some trading with me? Why do you look so familiar? Aren't you that kid I met at the ghastly grounds last month? What are you doing here? Actually, a better question is how, after just 1 month, you've become so rich. This Qian's memory was decent. Ling Chen smiled as he replied, that's right, it's me. Looks like we're tied together by fate. Yes, indeed, Qian nodded and also smiled. Well, since we already know each other, we'll cut straight to the chase. I've got quite a few good things here, and since you've got the money, I'll show you some of my better items this time. Qian waved with his walking stick and an item list appeared in front of Ling Chen. Last time, Qian had showed him his cheapest items, whereas this time he was going to show Ling Chen his better items. Even the cheapest goods were extremely expensive. Just how expensive were these items going to be? 7-leaved grass. Though it is grass, it has 7 leaves, each one with a color of the rainbow. It can grow anywhere, but is extremely difficult to find. Only extremely lucky people can find it. After consuming, luck +3 permanently. The effects do not stack. Price, 3 million gold. Stock, 1, psychic flower, a strange flower that grows next to the underworld blood lake at the bottom of the underworld. It gives off light that looks like water ripples in the darkness. It doesn't have a set color, but rather, its color changes depending on the emotions of creatures close to it. The more positive emotions, the brighter the color will be. the more negative the emotions, the darker the color will be. After consuming, comprehension +3 permanently. The effects do not stack. Price, 3 million gold, stock, 1. Ling Chen's eyes widened as he stared at the two items that could add 3 points to luck and comprehension. Just these two items were enough to blow Ling Chen away. Although they were quite pricey, but with their effects, their prices were actually quite reasonable. Right now, he desperately needed to increase his comprehension. Although these two items were worth 6 million gold altogether, Ling Chen had already decided he would definitely buy them. Underworld God Mysterious Blood Metal, one of the forbidden metals of the underworld. It was once an ordinary piece of metal that sank into the underworld blood lake, and after absorbing the remnant energy of evil spirits in the underworld blood lake for tens of thousands of years, it became a variant type of metal. It contains so much power that even the underworld king is unable to use it. If one is not careful, the energy inside could explode out, causing a disaster. As such, the underworld king stored all of this type of metal at the bottom of the underworld blood lake, and would not let anyone else obtain any of this metal. Qian Gun miraculously obtained a piece, and has always been carefully keeping it on him. Price, 10 million gold, stock, 1, 25 kilograms. Oh. The underworld god Mysterious Blood Metal was a piece of metal that was about the size of a fist, but it was described to weigh 25 kilograms. From the description, this piece of metal was a lot like the Red Sun Mysterious Gold that he had also obtained. However, whereas that was natural, this was created by absorbing the remnants of the energy of evil spirits. Moreover, this piece of metal was worth 10 million gold. 10 million gold could buy quite a few world-class sports cars. No matter how much money someone had, they probably wouldn't buy a piece of metal that they didn't even know how to use and could cause disaster for 10 million gold. Furthermore, this piece of metal wasn't even the most expensive item Qian Gun had on offer. The next item was an ancient-looking paper scroll that was worth 30 million gold. Holy heck, are you kidding me? What sort of scroll can cost so much money? It is some sort of super skill? A ridiculously OP class change scroll? Could it be the treasure map to some sort of incredible treasure? Blueprint, Underworld God Cannon, the blueprint for making the Underworld God Cannon, a weapon that the ancient dwarves made for the underworld. Only Heaven's End grade or above blacksmiths have the qualifications to open this scroll. The Underworld God Cannon has immense destructive power, and can even severely injure true gods. However, not only are the materials incredibly difficult to find, but blacksmiths who are able to forge it are also incredibly rare. Only the dwarves are able to forge this weapon. Price, 30 million gold, stock, 1, Underworld God Cannons, blueprint. Ling Chen looked at it in shock, and almost immediately, Qi Yu's incredulous voice also sounded out in his mind, Underworld God Cannon? Qi Yu, have you heard of this weapon before? Ling Chen asked. Of course I have. No less than expected from Qian Gun, he actually has this sort of forbidden item. Little master, you should buy this. The Underworld God Cannon has been called the God Killer Cannon, and it is deserving of such a name. Although the underworld contains many treasures, but with a single Underworld God Cannon, the Moon God clan has never dared to attack, or even offend them. Maybe, just maybe, if Little Master can one day have his own Underworld God Cannon, and put it on his territory, your land will be secure forever. Ling Chen, this wasn't the Underworld God Cannon, but rather just the blueprint for making one. Forgetting about the materials that were required to make it, the description said that only the dwarves could make it. The dwarves had disappeared countless years ago. If he really bought this for 30 million gold, all he would get was a useless scroll. Ling Chen thought for a moment, then looked at the last item, Moon God Palace Map, a detailed map of the Moon God Palace. It includes some hidden areas, as well as secret entrances and exits. It is unknown how Qian Gun obtained this map, but he has always secretly and cautiously kept it on him, and does not easily take it out to show other people. Price, 800 million gold, stock, 1, Ling Chen. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. Qiyu expressed her surprise for a while, before hurriedly saying to Ling Chen, Little Master, all of the things that Qian Gun sells are authentic goods. Although the prices are quite high, but this also goes to prove that these goods aren't ordinary. See if you can buy everything on offer. If you can obtain this map, perhaps you'll be able to enter the Moon God Palace. According to my knowledge, one of the Saint Orbs should be within the Moon God Palace. If you want to complete the Lunar Scourge, you'll have to go there to find it. Ling Chen, entering the Moon God Palace, right now, it was an impossible task for him. Would having that map turn this impossible task into a slight possibility? However, that wasn't the most important thing right now. More importantly, the price of this map was simply ridiculous. He simply didn't have that much money. For most people, it would be insane to spend $800 million on a map within a virtual game. Ling Chen suddenly remembered something. He looked at Qian Gun as he asked, Is this all you have? Where's the flying scroll I saw last time, as well as the skill scroll? Those were sold ages ago. Cheaper goods always sell out quickly. Plus, every time I go out I always bring different goods with me. You're pretty lucky, because I brought out quite a few good ones today. Finished looking through them? How about it, are you eager to buy them? Qian Gun asked. Sold out. Ling Chen's heart actually hurt when he heard this. Since meeting Qian Gun, he had always been hopeful that he would be able to buy the flying scroll and second jump skill scroll the next time he saw him. After all, they were only a few 100,000 gold. After wallowing in self-pity for a while, Ling Chen confirmed how much gold he had, and said, I want to buy the 7-leaved grass, psychic flower, underworld god mysterious blood metal and the underworld god cannon. Buying all of that had cost him a whole 46 million gold. That was equivalent to $46 million in the real world. If, in the past, he had seen someone spend so much money within the game, he would definitely think that person was crazy. As soon as Ling Chen said this, Qian Gun's eyes immediately shone like light bulbs. He never thought that this young person would actually buy almost everything he had on offer. Ahahaha, this little brother is quite the refreshingly decisive person and has good taste as well. Qian Gun, only offer the best and most authentic goods. Even though they're quite pricey, but they're worth every bit of money spent. After all, every single one of them is an incredibly rare and valuable good. You'll never regret buying my goods, so, are you really buying all those things? Qian Gun anxiously confirmed. Ling Chen took out 46 million gold and transferred it to Qian Gun. The 7-leaved grass, psychic flower, underworld god mysterious blood metal and underworld god cannon blueprint were also instantly transferred to Ling Chen. After receiving this huge fortune, Qian Gun's face became even more ecstatic, so decisive. I've never met a human like you before. I've had the underworld god cannon blueprint for thousands of years now, but everyone was always scared off by the price. It's only this little brother who has good taste. I know 30 million gold is very expensive, but it has its reasons for being expensive. If you go to the underworld and mention the name Underworld God Cannon, every person is bound to tremble. Since you've bought this blueprint, I'll tell you a secret for free. Ling Chen tried to open the Underworld God Cannon blueprint, but evidently, he, who did not have even a bit of experience in blacksmithing, wasn't able to do so at all. Hearing Qian Gun's words, he looked up and asked, What is it? The secret is, the dwarves haven't actually completely disappeared. In fact, they're still living in the Forgotten Continent, and there are actually still quite a few of them. Qian Gun said mysteriously. Where are they? Ling Chen asked. Not a clue. Back then, in order to escape disaster, the entire dwarf clan hid away. These years, no one has ever even seen a dwarf, so the place they've hidden themselves away in is definitely very well hidden. It'll be nigh impossible to find them. Plus, even if you can find them, although the dwarves are very kind, but they're also a very proud race, and are very guarded against other races. Asking them to forge something for you won't be so simple. Because you bought this blueprint, I'm sure you're very interested in the underworld god canon. However, as for whether you can really create one, that'll depend on your luck. By the way, this piece of underworld god mysterious blood metal is one of the key materials required to make the underworld god canon. It's pretty dangerous though, so if you're not using it, don't mess around with it. If some of its energy leaks out, the outcome won't be pretty. Ling Chen, dwarves, Seeing how Xiao Hui was able to unintentionally find the fairies, it should definitely be possible for him to find the dwarves, right? Why is this map so expensive? Ling Chen asked as he pointed to the only item that he didn't buy, the Moon God Palace map. Map? What map? Qian Gun asked in confusion. He suddenly saw the map Ling Chen was pointing at, and he went into a state of extreme panic as he hurriedly put the map away as he muttered, "The hell? How did I accidentally take this map out? Ahahaha, that was a map that I made for fun. It's not actually for sale, ahaha. In fact, it's not even a map of the Moon God Palace, and that ridiculous price was something I just put as a joke. Just pretend you didn't see it." Ah. It's getting late, so I should be heading back to the underworld. Oh, and seeing as you're going to the lava purgatory, I'll give this to you as a bonus. So please don't tell anyone about the map. Let's meet again if fate ordains it. After hurriedly saying goodbye, Qian Gun threw a pair of things that seemed to be made of white crystals, and suddenly disappeared. Oi, I haven't, goddammit. I didn't even get to use my Fengchen curses. Qian Gun had rushed off in such a hurry that Ling Chen, who was about to use the complete and utter belief curse on him to get the Moon God Palace map, almost spat out blood in fury. Looks like that map was real. Otherwise, Qian Gun wouldn't be so afraid about other people finding out he has such a map. If this matter was found out by the Moon God clan, even if he's Qian Gun, he would be hunted down by the Moon God clan. Qiyu explained. Ling Chen shrugged, well, it's not like I really lost anything. Even if I did manage to get that map off him, and entered the Moon God Palace, it'd be equivalent to suicide. Qiyu lightly laughed. It's rare to see Little Master acting like this. Looks like Little Master's a bit afraid of the Moon God clan. Come to think of it, why did Little Master want the Underworld God canon blueprint? You should know that what you bought with so much money could just be a mysterious but useless piece of paper. Ling Chen lapsed into silence, then replied, I hope one day it'll be of use. He then looked at the things Qian Gun had thrown to him before he had abruptly left. It was a pair of shoes that were an icy white color, and felt quite cool. Glacial silk shoes, decorative type equipment. It can be equipped on top of shoes that have already been equipped, and will cover those shoes completely. These shoes are made of silk from glacial silkworms that have lived over 1,000 years, and are incredibly light and cool. After equipping, it can reduce the effects of the heat from the environment on the player. These shoes will be of a great help. Ling Chen said as he looked at its description. He put them away, then took out the 7-leaved grass and psychic flower, and immediately ate them. Ding, you have consumed the 7-leaved grass, luck +3 permanently. Ding, you have consumed the psychic flower, comprehension +3 permanently. Immediately, his luck and comprehension had both jumped to 15. This was something a normal player could only dream of. Meeting Qian Gun didn't waste too much of his time. The climate here made him unwilling to stay any longer than necessary, so he immediately set out for the lava purgatory again. Lava purgatory boundary. Ling Chen finally reached the boundary of the lava purgatory. He stopped, with his face filled with disbelief. He simply couldn't believe that this was only the boundary of the lava purgatory. It was obvious where the boundary for the lava purgatory was. Currently, the ground under Ling Chen's feet was yellowish-brown, but the area belonging to the lava purgatory had red ground. The redness of the ground was comparable to the redness of red-hot metal. On the red ground, there were tongues of flames. The further into the lava purgatory, the more concentrated and intense the flames were. This was the lava purgatory, where the Vermillion bird resided. He had finally arrived. If he could really find the Vermillion bird, then there would be hope for Ling. The scenery in front of him was terrifying, but Ling Chen had no intention of backing down. The ground within the lava purgatory was quite uneven, and there were flames everywhere, so he dismounted the cloud-stepping mare and slowly walked in. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkestone, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. So hot. The sensation made him feel like he had just been thrown into a burning hot oven, but it was possible for him to endure it. However, since this was just the boundary of the lava purgatory, what would it be like inside? Ling Chen gritted his teeth, held his breath and charged forwards as fast as he could. He didn't want to stay any longer than necessary in this sort of place. The further in he went, the higher the temperature became. Just as he became slightly accustomed to the temperature, it would increase again, increasing his pain and discomfort. Ling Chen avoided the tongues of flames as he sprinted towards the inner region. His sweat continuously flowed, but would evaporate after only a few seconds. Huff, huff. The air Ling Chen breathed out was almost as hot as steam, and after advancing by 100 meters, his entire face had become bright red. As he continued forwards, the rocks on the ground became redder and redder, as if they would spontaneously combust. Looking up, he saw that the entire sky was also completely red. Huff. I'm going to get there no matter what. According to his map, the lava purgatory spanned a diameter of 20 kilometers. That meant, in order to reach the central district of the lava purgatory, Ling Chen would have to travel around 10 kilometers. 505050. After another 100 meters, damage figures began to arise from Ling Chen's body. Not only was there pain and discomfort now, but even his HP was being drained. Ling Chen frowned, and did his best to run even faster. 100100100 150150150 200200200. As Ling Chen pressed on, he began to lose health faster and faster. By the time he had reached the 1 kilometer mark, he was already losing 200 HP per second. Ling Chen only had 1471 HP, and with the green potion, which could restore 1500 HP per second, this was completely fine for him. However, if the damage continued to increase, he might be forced to use the incredibly precious Dew of Dawn, of which he only had 100 drops. At the same time, the pain he was experiencing from the heat had reached the point where his face was unable to stay calm. He didn't know what the temperature was, but it felt like there were balls of fire directly burning on his body, causing him to clench his teeth. This was especially so for his feet. It felt like he was walking on red-hot metal barefooted. Ling gave up her life for me, this is nothing. Ling Chen gritted his teeth as he wildly ran forwards. He suddenly thought of the glacial silk shoes that Qian Gun had given him, and immediately equipped them. The pleasant and cool sensation that entered his feet and spread out to his entire body caused him to almost moan in pleasure. It was so comfortable that he almost forgot how to walk. Only a few seconds after the glacial silk shoes had been equipped, the pain from the heat in Ling Chen's feet almost completely disappeared. Moreover, the effects, to a lesser extent, also spread to his entire body, and even decreased the damage to 50 per second. The effects were much better than Ling Chen could have ever dreamed of. Now that his mind was clearer, Ling Chen felt even more resolute. He once again sped forwards. After running for another kilometer, Ling Chen was nearing the middle of the outer region of the lava purgatory. The glacial silk shoes, of course, had their limits, and at this point, Ling Chen's HP began to decrease at 200 per second again. His face was once again bright red, with his entire body covered in sweat and blistering from the heat. It was terrifying to think what it would be like without the glacial silk shoes. In front of him, the tongues of flames were gathered together densely. They were no longer tongues of flames, but rather balls of flames. The smallest were about 1 meter high, and the largest were even taller than himself. Xiao Hui, who had been running in front of him the whole time, suddenly stopped, and barked as a warning. Ling Chen immediately stopped and held his breath as he looked forwards. He felt that something strange was about to happen. There were countless balls of flames in his field of vision, and all of them were swaying from side to side. However, there was no wind at all. Why would these flames be swaying? The swaying gradually became more and more exaggerated, and suddenly they started to float into the sky and merged together. They became fireballs with 2 short arms made of fire, as well as a small tongue of fire on their head, which looked like hair. On the middle of their bodies, 2 flame-yellow eyes slowly opened. This was Flame Spirit, Type, Spirit, Level, LV30, HP, 900. Spirits created from the intense heat. Their personalities are just as intense and explosive as the flames that birthed them, and like to incinerate everything. Passive abilities: reduces 90% of physical attack damage, immune to fire attacks. Attack skills: flame bullets, throws out a small fireball to attack a single target. Although it is a single target attack, it has incredible destructive power. After hitting the target, the fireball can explode, causing splash damage with a 50% chance to hit enemies around the target. Weaknesses: low HP and are weak against water attacks, minus 80% resistance against water. All of a sudden, around 50 to 60 flame spirits had already formed. At LV30, these monsters only had 900 HP, but as spirits, they were not afraid of physical attacks. For players who only had physical attack damage, fighting these flame spirits would be incredibly annoying. However, although Ling Chen had a physical attack profession, he was not worried at all. Humph, die. Ling Chen coldly harumphed as he took out his weapons, and charged forwards. As he ran, 3 fireballs shot out from 3 of the flame spirits. However, these fireballs were not too fast, and Ling Chen didn't even have to dodge due to his high movement speed. He arrived in front of 2 flame spirits and sent out a Ling Qian burst from his Zephyr blade. Puff, puff. Minus 2506, minus 5004. The flame spirits that were hit extinguished with a puff. The damage figures that arose from their bodies were not reduced at all, despite the fact that normally, physical attacks would be reduced by 90% when hitting them. However, Ling Chen's cancer orb ignored all defense, physical damage reduction and absolute defense. After killing 2 flame spirits, Ling Chen did not stop to kill more. After all, his goal was not to kill all the flame spirits, but to reach his destination as fast as possible. He would only attack the ones that were blocking his way. As more and more fireballs were fired his way, Ling Chen weaved left and right, passing through the gaps in between them. He didn't even have to slow down, and every time he attacked, a small group of flame spirits would be extinguished. Puff. 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 With the Fengchen technique, even without a mount, Ling Chen's movement speed was 175, this was even higher than most assassins. With his speed and footwork, the flame spirits blocking his way were quickly exterminated. However, the further he ran, the denser the flame spirits would be gathered together. Although he could get rid of them quickly, but if they were gathered too densely, even he wouldn't be able to clear them out in one go. Not only were they becoming more and more densely gathered, but their attacks were also becoming more erratic. Evidently, they were furious that he was killing so many of them. Ling Chen was unable to stop, and could only grit his teeth as he continued to charge forwards. If he stopped, then the fireballs flying all over the place would definitely hit him. Although these fireballs were not very fast and did not have a very long range, but as mentioned in the description, that was made up for with their destructive power. It was possible that being hit by a single one could kill him. Seeing that there were more and more flame spirits, Ling Chen put on his evil god's mask, just in case. Puff! Puff! The more densely gathered they were, the more flame spirits Ling Chen killed in a single strike. The flame spirits jumped up and down in fury, and seeing that their attacks were useless against Ling Chen, they stopped attacking. Although the situation had calmed down, Ling Chen felt a massive sense of danger. 1, 2, 10, 100, 200, 300. Countless flame spirits were lifted up, and gathered at the center of the wind. As they collided together, they merged, growing from a small fireball to one that was 3 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters tall. As the fireball grew bigger and bigger, the feeling of danger was also getting stronger and stronger. Ling Chen stood transfixed for a few moments before coming back to his senses and charging forwards. As soon as he moved, the flame spirits that hadn't been lifted up all started to jump, and a wall of fire about 10 meters high rose up in front of him. At the same time, walls of fire also arose to his sides and behind him. He had been completely sealed with a cage of flames, unable to advance or retreat. Ling Chen stood still, and looked at the gigantic fireball. After it grew to a bit more than 10 meters tall, it began to take shape. First were its 4 limbs, and then its 2 savage-looking eyes. What soon appeared was a massive flame giant. Giga Inferno Spirit, Type, Spirit, Level, LV 30, Grade, Celestial, HP, 300,000. A high-grade spirit created from the merging of many flame spirits. Its personality is incredibly fiery and explosive, and can release massive flame attacks, causing its surroundings to become a sea of fire. Passive abilities: reduces 90% of physical attack damage, absorbs all fire attacks. It can regenerate HP when in a hot environment. Attack skills: Inferno bullets, shoots 5 to 10 large fireballs. The speed is average, but their power is massive. After hitting the target, the fireballs can explode, causing splash damage with a 30 to 60% chance to hit enemies around the target. The Inferno bullets are released from the mouth. When activating, the mouth will open and the head will tilt backwards. Usage frequency: high. Inferno wall shoots a 10-meter long wall of flames, which moves extremely fast and deals a large amount of damage. It is incredibly difficult to dodge. If the target is hit, there is a 30% chance of the target being burned for 10 seconds. There is no obvious setup action. Usage frequency: medium. Exploding flames throws a massive fireball within 20 meters of itself, causing an explosion of flames where it lands, and will spread to 10 meters away from where the fireball landed. Causes massive damage if hit, and there is a 30% chance of the target being burned for 5 to 10 seconds, as well as a 10% chance of the target being stunned for 3 seconds. Requires 2 seconds of gathering flames before activating. Usage frequency: low. Exploding sea of flames explodes its own flames, causing the area within 50 meters of itself to become a sea of flames. It requires 3 to 5 seconds of charging before it can be activated. After activating, its fire attack power will be decreased by 30%. This skill will immediately activate as soon as its HP falls below 10%. Can only be activated once per day. Weaknesses: low HP and has extremely low defense, and is weak against water attacks. This flame giant was countless times more powerful than all of the flame spirits individually combined. It was a pure attack celestial boss. The walls of fire around him not only kept him from escaping, but also increased the temperature. Above Ling Chen's head, terrifying damage figures kept rising up. -300300300. At this rate, the green potions wouldn't be enough to keep him alive. It seemed Ling Chen had to use the Dew of Dawn. However, not only was the Dew of Dawn incredibly valuable, but also in short supply. Even if he used all of it, it wouldn't last him a very long time. He definitely couldn't waste it here. A LV-30 celestial boss was not something the current Ling Chen could easily defeat. Moreover, the Giga Flame Spirit also received benefits from the environment. In fact, even if Ling Chen attacked with his full strength, even with the Cancer Orb, he wouldn't necessarily be able to damage it more than it could regenerate. But then again, he couldn't escape either. While Ling Chen was still considering what to do, the Giga Inferno Spirit came rushing at him. It wasn't very fast, but when the space was limited, speed didn't matter too much. When it was about 10 meters away from Ling Chen, it opened its mouth, and 7 or 8 large fireballs chaotically flew out towards Ling Chen. Ling Chen did not retreat, but rather advanced towards the fireballs. The Giga Inferno Spirit had terrifying attack power, but its other stats were rubbish. Ling Chen's movement speed was at least twice that of the Giga Inferno Spirits. In the blink of an eye, he had dodged all of the fireballs and reached the Giga Inferno Spirit. With the Zephyr Blade and Great Ravager in his hands, he sent 2 Ling Tian bursts crashing onto it. Puff! Puff! -4218427. After attacking twice, Ling Chen immediately turned and ran to put some distance in between them. Only with enough distance would he be able to easily dodge the Giga Inferno Spirit's attacks. With the Giga Inferno Spirit's movement speed, it would be impossible for it to close the distance in between them. Just as Ling Chen was retreating, the Giga Inferno Spirit once again shot out Inferno bullets at him. This time, 9 fireballs flew towards him. Because of Ling Chen's reaction speed and the speed of the fireballs, it was easy to dodge them once again. Ling Chen charged forwards, but suddenly stopped. He almost started swearing out loud, because above the Giga Inferno Spirit's head, a big green number had appeared. +15,000. The damage he had just dealt had been recovered instantly. Ling Chen needed at least 5 seconds to attack the Giga Inferno Spirit effectively, but it could instantly recover more than Ling Chen could even deal. This was simply ridiculous. It was possible that with soul sacrifice, he would be able to damage it more than it could recover, but such a strategy was much too risky. Soul sacrifice set his HP to 1, and he was losing hundreds of HP every second. In order to keep his HP up, Ling Chen drank down a drop of the Dew of Dawn. Immediately, a green number of +5,000 appeared above his head. The Dew of Dawn lasted for 10 seconds, and each drop was life-saving. Ling Chen had no other choice. Since the Giga Inferno Spirit was impossible to kill, the only thing he could do was try to escape. Ling Chen looked at the walls of fire and decided that he had to take a risk. The Giga Inferno walked towards Ling Chen with its 2 massive hands raised up. A 2-meter-wide fireball was formed, then thrown at Ling Chen. This was one of the Giga Inferno Spirit's strongest attacks, exploding flames. If this fireball landed on the ground, it would cause an explosion of flames that would cover a large area. It would be impossible for Ling Chen to escape unharmed. Ling Chen suddenly thought of something. He raised his right hand, and a silver light flashed. Moon Shadow. The silver light covered both the fireball, as well as the Giga Inferno Spirit. Ling Chen put his hand on the evil god's mask, and muttered to himself, "This better work, Broken Shadow." With Broken Shadow activated, Ling Chen's movement speed reached 1,750. His body became a shadow that was too fast for the naked eye to see, and charged towards the wall of fire in front of him. Whoosh! In a split second, Ling Chen had already reached the wall of fire. Passing through the blazing hot wall was definitely enough to kill Ling Chen. However, the moment Ling Chen came into contact with the wall, the evil god's mask shone with a blood-red light, like a beast that had been awakened, and a low roar came from the mask. Instantly, it was as if something had smashed into the wall, and the wall of fire dispersed to the side. The wall of fire was 3 meters thick, and Ling Chen passed through it almost instantaneously. When he got out, he was completely fine. The evil god's mask could block fatal damage once every 10 seconds, but without Broken Shadow, the 3-meter thick wall would have caused him more than 2 fatal injuries. After successfully escaping from the cage of fire, Ling Chen did not hesitate at all as he continued to charge forwards. When the effects of Broken Shadow ended, he looked back and muttered, I'll get my revenge when I've done what I need to do. Celestial grade bosses were quite rare, and they did not respawn, unlike normal bosses. Currently, even within China, only a handful of players had seen celestial bosses. Although they were extremely difficult to kill, but the rewards were definitely worth it. Ling Chen currently had 2 celestial grade weapons, both of which came from celestial grade bosses. Now that he knew that there was a LV-30 celestial grade boss in the lava purgatory, he would definitely be back in future. 300300300. Right now, he was probably right in the middle of the outer region of the lava purgatory. The rate at which he was losing health was already startling, and he could barely hang on even with the dawn of dew. Now, it seemed like even getting into the middle region would be impossible. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. The air was so hot and blistering that it was almost impossible for Ling Chen to open his eyes, and made it difficult for him to breathe. He started to feel that his footsteps were becoming incredibly light, and he knew that his body was close to reaching its limit. He raised his hands, and saw that his hands looked as if they had been completely roasted. He wondered whether he would catch on fire if he kept going. Ling Chen was forced to drink yet another drop of Dew of Dawn. On the way to this point, he had already consumed more than 20 drops. With his consumption increasing as he advanced, it would be a pity if he ran out of the Dew of Dawn before even reaching the middle region. Little Master, you should give up. As you are now, it's impossible for you to reach the inner region. In fact, let alone you, even those of Heaven's End grade would find it incredibly difficult. Qi Yu urged. In order to save Shi Ling, he had traveled thousands of kilometers. If he couldn't even get past the outer region, it would be incredibly difficult for him to accept such an outcome. Although Ling Chen was not willing to give up, he wasn't an idiot either. He knew what would happen if he decided to continue. However, he was simply unwilling to accept his powerlessness. Ling Chen stood on the spot as he looked ahead. He gritted his teeth, deeply breathed in, and shouted, "Vermillion bird! Vermillion bird! Come out! Vermillion bird! Come out! I need your help! Vermillion bird!" Ling Chen shouted with all of his might, and his voice traveled very far. There were not any echoes, nor any responses. Vermillion bird, come out! Vermillion bird! Ling Chen continuously shouted, putting all of his strength into each yell. Right now, this was the only thing he could do. He prayed that his shouting could create some miracle, that the Vermillion bird would hear him and come to him. However, he knew how naive this plan was. After all, he was still kilometers from the center of the lava purgatory. How could his voice reach such a place? Moreover, why would the Vermillion bird come out just because of a human shouting? Ling Chen shouted until he almost lost his voice and his head spun. The only one who could hear him shouting was Xiao Hui, who had been with him since he first entered the lava purgatory. The recovery items used by players also affected their pets, so with Xiao Hui's 6000 HP, Holy Spirit's shield and all the potions, he was much safer than Ling Chen. Hearing his master shouting, he also faced the direction to which Ling Chen was shouting, and started howling, trying to help his master. Awo! Vermillion bird! Awo! Vermillion bird, come out! Awo! After shouting for a while, Ling Chen's voice became weaker and weaker, while Xiao Hui's howls became longer and longer. Soon, the sounds produced by his little body became even louder than his owner's, and traveled further. Awo, awo, huff. Huff, Ling Chen once again drank down a drop of dew of dawn, and panted. After resting for a bit, he squatted down, and patted Xiao Hui's head. Forget it, let's not shout anymore. I think we should go back now. We'll definitely find another way to save Xiling. Awo, Xiao Hui stopped howling. It seemed that he could also feel Ling Chen's disappointment. He softly barked a few times, as if to comfort Ling Chen. Let's go. Ling Chen could only helplessly take out a teleport scroll for the Vermillion Bird City, and prepared to leave. After completely failing at finding the Vermillion Bird City, he could only meet with the Vermillion Bird City's mayor. Since the Vermillion Bird was the guardian beast of the Vermillion Bird City, the mayor was bound to have some way of contacting the Vermillion Bird. Although it was unlikely the mayor would help him, but it was more possible than advancing any further in the lava purgatory. Just as Ling Chen was about to shatter the scroll, a faint female's voice sounded out from the distance. Holy Qian's descendant, are you calling me? Ling Chen froze, and turned around, staring towards the south. This voice was, could it be, wait, Holy Qian's descendant? What was that about? Just as Ling Chen turned around, he saw a massive red phantasm. It was the phantasm of a bird with outstretched wings, which emanated a sense of power and majesty. Its head and tail looked like that of a phoenix, and had claws like eagles. Its neck was like that of a snake's, and its body was covered with crimson-red feathers. Each feather was burning with an intense flame. Ling Chen held his breath as he gazed at this spectacle before him. Vermillion bird. This was definitely the phantasm of the Vermillion Bird. Vermillion Bird. Qiyu called out in Ling Chen's mind, affirming his suspicions. This was because Qiyu had actually met the Vermillion Bird in the past. Vermillion Bird. Seeing this phantasm, Ling Chen shouted out emotionally. Although this was only the phantasm of the Vermillion Bird, it carried some of its consciousness. It responded with a voice filled with curiosity, oh? Only some of your appearance looks like that of the Holy Qian's. Evidently, your energy is not that of the Holy Qian's, but why do you give me a feeling similar to that which the Holy Qian gives? Me? Ling Chen stared in shock, before he suddenly looked down at Xiao Hui. Xiao Hui was currently also staring into the sky, unaware of what the Vermillion Bird was talking about. Could it be that the Vermillion Bird was talking about Xiao Hui? It had called Xiao Hui, the Holy Qian's descendant. The Holy Qian's descendant? What a joke. Xiao Hui looked like a little dog with a horn. It looked completely different to the mighty Qian. Moreover, Xiao Hui was given to him by the evil beast Tao Tai. Why would the Holy Qian's descendant be with an evil beast, rather with the Holy Qian itself? Could it be that Xiao Hui's aura was similar to that of the Holy Qian's, which was what drew the Vermillion Bird here? Never mind, the feeling you give me is only slightly similar to that of the Holy Qian's. Looks like I was too sensitive. The lava purgatory is not somewhere you should be, so you should quickly leave. If you continue, you'll definitely die here. As soon as it had finished talking, the Vermillion Bird's phantasm turned to leave. Ling Chen hurriedly stepped forwards as he rasped, wait, Vermillion Bird, I need your help. Unless the Vermillion Bird City is facing catastrophe, otherwise I won't interfere with human affairs at all. Leave immediately. The Vermillion bird's voice began to sound further away, and its phantasm became more and more transparent. It's not about human affairs, it's to save the sovereign of your fire clan. Ling Chen desperately yelled as he summoned Shi Ling and cradled her in his arms. Please save her, you're the only one who can save her now. After a month had passed, Shi Ling had grown even weaker. Right now, she could only weakly lie in Ling Chen's arms as she trembled. There were no longer any flames on her feathers, and she couldn't raise her head no matter how hard she tried. She could only make some weak noises as she lay in Ling Chen's arms. The powerful and beautiful Shi Ling had become like this because of him. Ling Chen's heart ached when he saw her in such a state. The Vermillion bird seemed to sense something, and the phantasm became vivid and clear again. This time, as it spoke, its voice was filled with shock. The golden crow's aura, no. Not just the golden crow, there's also, a red ray of light descended from the sky, and swept towards Ling Chen. Ling Chen's instincts told him not to dodge, and he watched as the red light landed on Shi Ling's body, and carried her into the air, until she reached the Vermillion bird's phantasm. Ling Chen didn't resist as he watched Shi Ling being taken over to the Vermillion bird. So it's like this. Although the golden crow has perished, it left behind a descendant. And not only the golden crow, but that race's blood also flows through her veins. No less than expected from a being birthed from wielders of two of the strongest flames. Even though the flames of her life force have almost gone out, but the remaining flames are still enough to make my flames tremble. The Vermillion bird's voice was filled with emotion, and this sort of reaction caused Ling Chen's heart rate to speed up as he intently listened to every word the Vermillion bird said. He had traveled thousands of kilometers just to bet on the Vermillion bird's emotions. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Angel, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. A gust of cool wind blew across Ling Chen's body, and all of a sudden the immense heat that Ling Chen had been enduring suddenly disappeared. All of the pain and discomfort, as well as loss of HP, vanished. Ling Chen looked at the Vermillion bird's phantasm in shock, and marveled at its power. You came here to save her? The Vermillion bird's voice was calm as water, filled with neither joy nor sorrow, and sounded both close and far away. Ling Chen nodded. She sacrificed herself for me, so please save her, only you're able to save her. Since you know that I'm the only one who can save her, you should also know the price I need to pay for saving her. Ling Chen sighed, and replied, the price you need to pay for saving her is that you need to use the flames of your own life force to reignite the flames of her life force, causing you to lose your energy and life. I know this is a very selfish request, but apart from you, I don't have any other methods to save her. Since it's like that, why did you risk your life coming here? With your strength, coming to where you are now was already a miracle. You've endured pain that most people would have died from. Didn't you know that after suffering so much, and maybe even dying, it was possible that you wouldn't achieve anything at all? Where did your confidence come from? Ling Chen looked up as he gazed at the Vermillion bird's phantasm, because I believe that you, the Vermillion bird, would have compassion on Shi Ling. She has the golden crow's flames. If she died, the forgotten continent's strongest flame would forever disappear. As a mighty and compassionate god beast, I'm sure that you wouldn't want such a thing to happen, right? The Vermillion bird's phantasm gazed back at him. Under the pressure that the Vermillion bird's phantasm was releasing, normal people wouldn't even be able to say a complete sentence, let alone tell a lie. Hearing Ling Chen's reply, the Vermillion bird fell silent, while the flame surrounding Shi Ling grew larger and larger. Sweat started to trickle down Ling Chen's forehead. This sweat wasn't from the heat, but rather from Ling Chen's nervousness. Shi Ling's life or death depended on the Vermillion bird's reply. As the majestic and powerful Vermillion bird, who was also the guardian beast of the Vermillion bird city, would it really give up its own life for Shi Ling? After a few moments of tense silence, the Vermillion bird spoke, "You're half right, but half wrong. Ling Chen, the golden crow is the sovereign of fire, and its flames are far above mine. I definitely don't want to see the golden crow's flames disappear forever. However, I have my own duties and responsibilities. Asking me to give up my responsibilities and my life in exchange for the golden crow's flames is something I cannot do." The Vermillion bird's words startled Ling Chen as he frowned, "But, unless you can agree to 3 conditions." Just as Ling Chen was about to speak, he was cut off by the Vermillion bird. An overwhelming feeling of joy rushed into him and vigorously nodded, "As long as you're willing to save Shi Ling, I'll do anything within my power." "Very good." The Vermillion bird's gaze seemed to become gentler, and the pressure on Ling Chen's body felt lighter. The Vermillion bird continued to speak, "All of these 3 conditions must be met. If there's even one that you can't fulfill, then I won't save her, even if the golden crow's flames disappear forever." Ling Chen once again nodded. Although the Vermillion bird had not named its terms yet, but he was already feeling over the moon. There was finally hope for Shi Ling. He had never expected the Vermillion bird to be willing to compromise so quickly. "The first condition is that you must immediately get rid of your contract with her. She has already been revived once in the past, and her life is now tied to yours. If you don't get rid of the contract between you two, even if she revives, her life will still be linked to yours. If you die, she will also die. If you want her to die, she must die. How can the Sovereign of Flame's life be controlled by a human? Get rid of the contract, and grant her freedom. When the time comes, whether she wants to continue to follow you or destroy you, that'll be up to her." Ling Chen unhesitatingly nodded. "Back then, I formed the contract with her in order to save her. If I could give her back her freedom, I'd be extremely willing. However, I don't know how to do this. Also, if I get rid of it, will it endanger her life? You don't need to worry about this. The only chance you have to get rid of the contract is when she is nearing death, which is now. After canceling the contract, with my flames, she will be perfectly fine. All you need to do is not resist. Even if it's me, if you resist, I won't be able to cancel the contract." As the Vermillion bird talked, its 2 massive eyes flashed with red light. One ray of light landed on Ling Chen's body, and the other landed on Shi Ling's body. When it hit him, Ling Chen felt like something had left his body. "Ding, the contract between you and your pet, Shi Ling, is about to be cancelled. After the contract is cancelled, Shi Ling will still be your pet, but her life will no longer be tied to yours and will not have to unconditionally obey you, and will be able to escape. Will you allow this?" "Yes." After hearing the notification, Ling Chen immediately gave his affirmation. The red light dissipated, and another system announcement rang out, "Ding, the contract between you and your pet, Shi Ling, has been cancelled." After the contract was cancelled, Ling Chen didn't feel any regret at all. In fact, he felt relieved. He had only entered the contract to save Shi Ling, but had restricted her freedom and was unable to get rid of the contract. This way, if Shi Ling could be revived, she would also regain her freedom. When the time came, she could do what she wanted without being tied down by him. Indeed, you didn't resist at all, and your heart remained calm. Looks like you didn't have any selfish motives. You were willing to endure such pain and risk your life to come here, making it evident that you truly care about her. Now, my second condition. I carry the responsibility of protecting the Vermillion Bird City. If I die, then the Vermillion Bird City will definitely descend into chaos. As such, if I save her, you must keep my death a secret. You cannot even tell your closest family or friends. In fact, it would be good if you could forget it completely. Moreover, if, one day, the Vermillion Bird City is facing destruction, you must do everything in your power to save the Vermillion Bird City. Do you accept? Yes. Ling Chen immediately nodded. I won't tell anyone else about you. Even though I'm quite weak right now, but if the Vermillion Bird City ever faces peril, I will do all I can to save it. The Vermillion Bird looked at him calmly, before naming its third condition. The third condition is that within 1 month, you must find a human with a flame soul, and bring them here. A human with a flame soul? Ling Chen looked at the Vermillion Bird in surprise. If she dies, then the Golden Crow's flames will be forever lost. I don't have any descendants, so if I die, the Vermillion Bird's flames will be forever lost. I don't want to see the Golden Crow's flames being lost, but I even more so don't want to let the Vermillion Bird's flames perish because of me. Otherwise, I will be a traitor to my clan. As such, before I save her, I need to find a creature that is able to inherit my Vermillion Bird's flames. The only type of beings that can inherit my flames within a short period of time are humans with a flame soul. Humans have the most talent and potential out of all species, and those with a flame soul are able to handle the might of my flames. If you can't find a human like this, then even if the Golden Crow's flames are lost, I won't help. This condition was the true test for Ling Chen. He thought for a while, before asking, how do I find someone with a flame soul, and what do they look like? Could it be there are flames burning on their body? Humans do not naturally possess flames, and only 1/1000000000000 people might possess a flame soul. It is extremely difficult to find one. Those with a flame soul have incredible aptitude for controlling fire, but will also be tortured by the pain of fire from time to time. As their flame soul grows, it becomes more and more difficult for their human body to contain it. As such, humans with flame souls usually die before they're 20 years old. However, if they can inherit my power, then they can live thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. The flame soul will also be able to be controlled by them as they wish, and they'll be able to control my flames within a short period of time. Here, take this. A crimson-red feather slowly floated down from the sky. Ling Chen stretched out his hand and let the feather fall into his hand. This is one of my tail feathers. You can use it to find a human with a flame soul. When it's within 10 steps of a person with a flame soul, it will let out a red light. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord_of_Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Angel, Agile_Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo. If you leave her with me, she can last for another month. Within 1 month, you won't have to worry about her safety. But you must find a human with a flame soul within 1 month, and bring them to the outer region of the lava Purgatory. When you have done that, shout my name towards the feather I gave you. If you are unsuccessful after 1 month, I won't be able to help you. You may leave now. The Vermillion Bird's voice grew fainter, and a red light shot down and covered Ling Chen's body. Just as Ling Chen was about to speak, the scenery in front of him changed. In front of him was not the red world anymore, but rather, yellowish-brown ground. This was. Ling Chen immediately took out his map and found that he was now a few kilometers outside of the lava Purgatory. He took out the feather the Vermillion Bird had given him, looked at it silently for a while, and grasped it in his hand. His feelings were both joyful and nervous at the same time. Within 1 month, relying on this feather, he had to find a person with a flame soul. However, he had already met the Vermillion Bird, and had gotten it to promise him to revive Shi Ling if he could fulfill its 3 conditions. He was simply unwilling to fail after getting so far. I must find a person with a flame soul within 1 month. Ling Chen couldn't help but think of Taoist Tian Qing, who allegedly could find out the heaven's secrets. If he really did have this ability, maybe he would be able to find a person with a flame soul. However, as Daoist Tian Qing had said, this was impossible for him. It was getting late, so Ling Chen logged off and went to sleep. At the same time, within the central district in the inner region of the lava Purgatory, a voice sounded out, humans with a flame soul are much too rare, and their lifespans are much too short. Whether any currently exist is unknown. Wanting to pass on the Vermillion bird's flames is just my last wish. Golden Crow's descendant, even if he's unable to find a person with a flame soul, I will still save you. Exchanging my life for yours is the greatest glory of my life. When the morning came, Ling Chen sneezed, stretched, then jumped down from the bed, although he slept very late, but he felt quite refreshed. Just as he opened the bedroom door, Ling Chen almost crashed into Tian, who was running. Tian, you got up so early. Ling Chen commented as he glanced at the clock. Actually, it was already 8:30 a.m. Lazy big brother, I get up earlier than you every day. Tian stuck her tongue out at him, then pointed at the bathroom, go and wash your face and brush your teeth, breakfast is ready. Tian helped out quite a lot with breakfast today. Shura said as she walked over smiling. Oh. Ling Chen looked at Tian, his face full of shock. Aya. Our Tian's already cooking. This is the biggest thing that's happened since Tian started living here. Tian couldn't tell whether Ling Chen was praising or mocking her, so she could only lift her nose up as she proudly said, I'm so smart, so even though it's my first time cooking, it'll definitely be very yummy. Then I definitely have to eat breakfast today. Ling Chen said as he grinned. Normally, Tian only ate, slept and played. Today, she had actually helped make breakfast. What was going on? He went straight to the table, and looked at the 4 dishes on the table as he asked, Tian, which one did you make? I'll try that one first. This one. Tian was evidently very eager for Ling Chen to taste the fruits of her labor. She quickly pointed at the plate of scrambled eggs. Early in the morning, she had gotten up with Shura. Shura had pulled her to the kitchen and taught her how to cook, telling her that everyone liked girls who could cook. As such, she began to cook with her big sister, and carefully made her first dish, and it was completely on her own, without any help from Shura. Deep down, Tian wanted to be praised and acknowledged by Ling Chen. Oh! Just the appearance of these eggs already deserve a 10 out of 10. It's much better than when I first started cooking. Before Ling Chen had even tasted it, he began to praise Tian. He picked up his chopsticks, and picked up a piece. Since it was Tian's first time cooking, he would say it tasted good no matter what. Moreover, Tian was sitting directly opposite him, watching him unblinkingly, her eyes filled with expectation. Even if it tasted like crap, he would still have to say it was delicious. As such, Ling Chen put the scrambled eggs into his mouth. Since they looked so nice, even if the taste wasn't so great, it shouldn't be too bad either. As soon as the scrambled eggs went into his mouth, before he even chewed, his entire body trembled, and his head dipped down, then back up. There were 2 lines of tears running down his face. Ah! Shura was shocked, and ran over. Big brother, are you all right? Big brother, why are you crying? Tian, who was waiting for Ling Chen's feedback, asked with her mouth open in shock. Ling Chen's face twitched, and he tried to smile, but immediately failed. The tears continued to flow as he said, delicious, it's so delicious. I've never had anything this delicious before, so the tears won't stop. Tian, did you really make this? You're simply a culinary genius, yes, so delicious, Ling Chen's words sounded incredibly fake, but the tears running down his face were real beyond a doubt. As such, Tian became incredibly excited as she yelled, really? Really? Is it really that yummy? Ling Chen vigorously nodded, definitely. I will remember Qian's first dish for the rest of my life. Ah, I forgot to brush my teeth, I'll be right back. As soon as he had blurted this out, Ling Chen rushed towards to the bathroom, and slammed the door shut as the sound of water flowing began to come out from the bathroom. Wow! Wow! Are my scrambled eggs really that great? Big brother was so moved that he cried, Big sister, have a taste and tell me if they're really as delicious as Big brother said. Qian happily yelled out. To Shura, it was obvious that what Ling Chen said wasn't quite true. She curiously picked up a small piece with her chopsticks and put it in her mouth. Clatter! The chopsticks fell out from her hand. It was as if a bomb had exploded in her mouth, and Shura kept her mouth tightly shut to prevent herself from immediately spitting it out. Tears also began to flow from her eyes. Seeing that Shura also began to cry, Qian gullibly began to shout out, Big sister's also crying. Big sister's also crying because it tastes so good. Are Qian's scrambled eggs really that great? Shura nodded, but evidently she didn't have the same level of willpower as Ling Chen. She couldn't even utter a word as she also charged towards the bathroom and threw the door open. Big sister, why are you going to the bathroom? Bang! The door was slammed shut by Shura. Qian felt quite confused. Although Big Brother and Big Sister had both said her scrambled eggs were delicious, and had even cried, she felt that something was a bit strange. She picked up her chopsticks and put a piece in her mouth. Before, she was afraid that it tasted bad, so she didn't dare to try it herself. Wah! A loud cry filled the dining room as Qian threw her chopsticks. Ah! Help! Help! Qian's chest heaved as she lay on the sofa, her hands covering her watery face. Ling Chen and Shura had already recovered, and wordlessly looked at this pitiful little girl. This is mustard sauce. Usually, you only put a bit on top of food to give it some extra flavor. This is salt. They evidently look completely different, so how did you confuse them? Sure, the color of mustard looks like scrambled eggs when they're cooked, but you can't just pour a whole bottle in just because the color's similar. Ling Chen held a bottle of salt and a bottle of mustard sauce in each hand as he talked to Qian. She had put most of the bottle of mustard sauce into the scrambled eggs, causing Ling Chen to shed many years' worth of tears. Come here, Qian. It's okay now. Shura pulled Qian over to rinse her mouth. Shura smiled at Qian as she said, It's fine, don't worry about it. Everyone makes mistakes on their first go. It'll be better in future. Shura's comforting words instead made Qian start crying again. Wah! It was so disgusting, but you all said it was delicious, you all lied to me. I don't want to cook ever again. Wah! Qian jumped off the sofa, and ran into the bedroom, then slammed the door closed. Ling Chen sat on the sofa as he muttered, in the end, she's still a little kid. Shura smiled as she softly said, Qian wanted to cook because she wanted to hear you praise her. Right now, she's angry with herself. After this unforgettable breakfast, Big Brother should spend more time with Qian. Ling Chen also smiled, got it. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Anon, Lord _of_ Fapping, Dryzak, Shabalabak, Woody Wooching, Norwegian Viking, Zero Mass, Pickles the Drummer, Kazakavoth, Angel, Agile _Shah, Anthony Folkeston, Zeker, Anon, Amro B, Cicero, Adam S, Bad Badger, Theta, Decimo.